Election 2024 is over. America has voted, and both sexism and racism have won the day. On Liberal Dan Radio, we will hold everyone accountable, from the media that failed to report the threat that Trump poses to this nation, to the people who supported him. We will pick up the mantle to educate the people about his actions, from being dictator on day one pardoning January 6th domestic terrorists, implementing Project 2025, and any other draconian measures he tries to pass. And now, the resistance begins. And welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you from New Orleans, Louisiana. We will open the phone lines in a little bit, but when we do, you'll see the call-in box show up, and you'll dial 562-LIBDAN1. That's 562-LIBDAN1, 562-542-3261, but not now. We will open up the phone lines in a bit. As I said, we'll talk about some of the issues of the day, and then we'll move on to the open lines. You can talk about whatever you want, as long as it's not racist, terrible, Nazi sympathizing, etc. But, you know, we do welcome other viewpoints on the show, and we don't just have an echo chamber here. We're more than happy to have reasonable and well-reasoned and, you know, rational debate here. Unfortunately, sometimes people who want to debate can't always be so reasonable, rational, or whatever. But, you know, you can always leave your comments, questions, etc. in the show chats on liberaldanradio.com, which is the YouTube channel, or twitch.tv/liberaldanradio as well. Over on Twitch, we got Orvillaby. Hello over there. Good to see you. Over on YouTube, we got Aaron. We got Steve from across the pond. It's no Scottish, it's crap. We've got Molly. Let's see, who else? Impeccable Living's in the chat. Oh my. There we go. We got Impeccable Living here early. Didn't forget on a Monday. You've been forgetting Monday recently, I think. Jan Morgan, Jeff from just north of Uranus, CR, good to see you as well. Molly, Progressively Independent. Who else? Roxanne. Who else am I missing over here? Because it kind of scrolled on me. Dean, good to see you, Dean. Jackie, did I say Jackie? If I didn't, there you go. If I did, hey Joseph, good to see you as well. Yes, smash that like button, and then the patriarchy. Make sure to like, share, comment on lots of videos, not just the live ones, but the other ones as well, the ones I post up. Al Gore needs more rhythm, so we need to help the algorithm, right? So looks like we got some competition for the community tab, whatever the heck that is, but we got Steve currently at number 1 with 100 XP, Progressively Independent with 2, and Molly with 3 at number 3. Honestly, they're both tied for 2 with 75, but what does that mean? I don't freaking know, but we'll worry about that later. You know, other ways to support the show besides liking, sharing, commenting, etc., helping the algorithms. You can become a Liberal Danimal here on a subscription over here on our membership here on YouTube. Little as $2 a month. You could gift subscriptions, buy super chat, super stickers. You can subscribe over on Twitch. It's free if you have Amazon Prime. You just got to re-up it every month, and you can also buy bits, etc. Thank you, Dean, for the $2 super chat. Appreciate you. We also got Venmo, Liberal Dan at Venmo, and Buy Me a Cider. Go to liberaldan.com, click the Buy Me a Cider button, or go to buymeacoffee.com/liberaldanradio. Either way gets you there, and you can support the show that way too. Wait for some more people to trickle in before we start the main topics of the show. I'm yawning again. Hopefully I'll last a little longer than last week, or the last Wednesday, because I was terrible. It's been a rough day, though, so we'll see. What was crap about today? So, as I've said, my mother-in-law passed away last April of last year, and my mother-in-law did, and she had a house and with a mortgage on it, and we've been trying to, not actively trying to sell it, but we've been trying to sell it, and recently we've been kind of getting more phone calls about people who want to sell the house, want to buy the house. So like, okay, and we talked to somebody, we negotiated a price that seemed reasonable. He had not yet done a thorough inspection of it, but it was an as-is purchase, and we agreed on the price, and there you go. We signed documents saying that if he doesn't close, then we get $1,000 in return. because that's, I guess, the deposit for us considering and not considering any other offers, I guess, during this time. That's very important. That was where my mindset was. My point of view was when it came to that particular issue. And I was telling people, look, if he doesn't want, if they back out, they decide they don't want to do it, then we get the $1,000, because nothing in the way that it was worded inside the terms of the contract specifically stated that the 14-day leaving during any period at some point at the beginning would enable them to get out of paying the $1,000. So as people were, calling us and be like, "Hey, are you selling the property on the street?" We're like, "No, we're under contract. I'm sorry, whatever." I didn't bother taking phone numbers because I'm like, okay, we're under contract. There's no reason for me to negotiate with anybody else because we have a contract. And if he does cancel it, I was supposed to get $1,000, or we were supposed to get $1,000. Well, turns out that even though there's nothing in the contract that specifically states it, the fact that it's a 14-day inspection period by law allows them to pull out without having to pay the $1,000 that was supposed to be put up as a deposit on, and if for some reason they went through with the house and it was fine, the $1,000 would just be applied to the purchase price. So, but if they would have, I guess, canceled outside the 14-day window that they had to inspect it, then they would have to pay us money. But apparently now they don't have to pay us money, which is, I was enraged earlier, simply because of the fact that I was relying on this idea that we were in a contract. Like, I was believed that we're in a contract, that we're not necessarily set in stone, because it gave him an out. But if he had the out, it'd be $1,000. And during the time that he's spending doing that, I'm not able to actually present the property to other people, and as such, it's losing me time and making it harder for me to now sell the house potentially, simply because of the fact that, I can't get other offers. So basically, I'm saying, look, if this happens again with the next person who tries to buy the house, I'm going to be like, look, I needed to have in the contract to clearly state that we can pull out of the contract as well within the inspection period and say, nope, we're done. We don't want to have to deal with this. We're going to entertain it, but we've received a better offer. So because it really is a bunch of BS. And now I am of the opinion, now I could be wrong, I'm not stating the names of the company, so it's not like they can come after me or anything, but I am absolutely of the opinion that what they did was they enlisted a price that they were not willing to pay, that was higher than what they were willing to pay. And then by making it so that we're not talking to anybody else, that we would that if once they decide to renege on the contract and say we're going to go back and we're not going to do it. I guess renege might be the wrong word, because they had the out that was available to them. But then say, hopefully we were desperate enough to say, okay, we'll sell it to you for the cheaper price. And I was fully prepared for them to back out. But when I was my full preparedness for them to back out was basically like, no, sorry, we're not renegotiating this price. If this was not the price you wanted to pay for this property, then you're not paying this price. You're not paying any price for this property. Give us $1,000. We'll find somebody else. Have a good day. But unfortunately, that's not how it works. We didn't get the $1,000. We're not getting the $1,000. And even if I thought there was a possibility that we could, there's no way that I would have to get a lawyer and have to sue. By the end of the day, all the work that was done, we wouldn't see any of the damn money to begin with, because it would all go out to pay the attorney. So I guess best to drop at this point, but that's just one of the things that I had to deal with today on my first day of both kids being home, whatever. So we got Teresa in the chat. We got Susie in the chat. Good to see both of you. Who else have I missed? As I was bitching, moaning, complaining, etc. on all of this stuff that has been down. So sick of this BS. Thank God we have Liberal Dandruff. Oh, thank you, Jan. Appreciate you. We are going to be listening to some BS because everybody. Hey, Evie's Aunt, good to see you over on Twitch. One thing that is, you might be wondering, what the hell is Liberal Dandruff? Well, we are going to be talking about Liberal Dandruff in a little bit because this was highly amusing. Some cringiness, but highly amusing. And you'll see in a little bit, because I'm apologizing that I have to subject y'all to this audio, but It's not a I had to listen to it, so you had to listen to it too. But we need to listen to it in order for me to make fun of it. So anyway, so what else to talk about? Hey Stephanie, good to see you as well. Anybody else that I missed while I was sitting there talking or whatever? Anyway, it's about 8:12ish. We got 22 people watching, I guess, counting both chats. So, where to start off? June 1st, yesterday, was the start of hurricane season. That's basically one of the seasons here in Louisiana, across the Gulf Coast, if you will. Of course, I have friends that moved up to North Carolina. I think it was either North Carolina or Kentucky. Somebody who took the writing classes that I took with me, he and his spouse moved up to wherever they are. I think it's North Carolina. They moved up there, and of course, that was when the hurricane hit them in North Carolina, and they lost the little thing to get to their house. They were stuck in their house. Very very unfortunate timing on their part. But that being said, hurricane season is well known. It is well understood, and it is something that the people who are in charge of our government should know about. But not our government. David Richardson is the current chief of FEMA, which is under the Department of Homeland Security, which is led by former governor and dog killer Kristi Noem. He told his staff that he did not know that the United States has a hurricane season. And staff of FEMA were left baffled on Monday after the head of the U.S. Disaster Agency said during a briefing that he had not been aware that the country has a hurricane season, according to 4 sources that The Guardian is citing in this. U.S. hurricane season begins on Sunday, lasts through November. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration forecast last week said that this year's it should be as many as 10 hurricanes, as opposed to Herman Cain. Because if you ever hear the song, "Here I Am, rocked you like I'm Herman Cain," you're not going to be able to hear it a different way, any other way. You're going to constantly now sing, "Here I Am, rocked you like I'm Herman Cain," instead of "rocked you like a hurricane." You're welcome. But anyway, David Richardson, who has led the FEMA since early May, it is not clear to staff whether he meant it literally as a joke or some other context. However, they are now claiming that it's a joke, and they're super prepared for hurricane season, even though they've streamlined and leaned down the government agencies. So at what level are they going to be able to give us the information that we need if a hurricane's coming our way? No way to know until it happens, right? But we already had the head of this entire Homeland Security Agency, i.e. Kristi Noem, not know what habeas corpus is. She clearly thought it was the power that Trump had to deport people, and not the fact that individuals had the right to challenge their incarceration, to challenge their imprisonment, to be able to petition the government, say, "Hey, I shouldn't be locked up right now. Here's my case." So she didn't know that. And apparently, Trump says, "I surround myself with the best people. Nobody surrounds themselves with better people." Well, clearly he surrounds himself with the dumbest people. And these two, i.e. Kristi Noem and David Richardson, appear to be those.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. I think what I'm going to do now, because I'm going to switch it up a bit when I record videos and I end them. I'm not going to go ahead and do the like, share, subscribe, whatever. I might just make a video ending at this point forward and just insert that video ending at the end of every video, so I don't have to record that same thing over and over and over again. It felt repetitive to me. I don't know if it felt repetitive to you. I do like the "unless you're a Nazi, have a good day" part, but I think that's the best. That's the best. Oh no! Super Saint just said in chat that Henry Winkler passed away today. Was that today? Let's see. Henry Winkler news. I'm not. Let's see. There's a lot of things. There are a lot of old articles that say Henry Winkler, Democratic donor, still alive according to Fact Check, but that was from 2019. Did Henry Winkler, the Fonz, die at 77? Henry Winkler, blah, blah, blah. I don't think he died. I'm not seeing that he passed away. So unless you have a, I don't know. We'll see. But I'm not seeing that he passed away according to this. So, and usually it's pretty fast on Wikipedia. Henry Winkler Wikipedia article doesn't even come up like in the first page. That's weird. Anyway. So, I don't believe... I don't see anything on here on the news. Oh, wait, here's all. Henry Winkler Weekly. There we go. I was looking at the news tab and not the other one. There's nothing on the Wikipedia page also that says that he passed away. So it's a fake story according to IMDb. Thank you, Steve. And I don't know if IMDb is Scottish, but it's no Scottish, it's crap. But it still might have verifiable information on it. So there you go. Henry Winkler, according to Wikipedia at least, and IMDb, is still alive. Country might not be very shortly, but Henry Winkler, the Fonz, is still alive. Hey. So anyway, there's that. Did I delete something I didn't want to delete? I don't know. What's next? All right. Since I was distracted by the word news of Henry Winkler's death being extremely exaggerated, Louisiana, in its attempt to try and prove that it should be considered the dumbest state in the nation, maybe even they're trying to prove themselves worthy of the love of Donald Trump, since Donald Trump, after the 2016 Nevada primary, said that he loved the poorly educated. And by doing this small thing, they are helping to prove that they, yes, are probably some of the least educated people there are, and as such, worthy of Donald Trump's love. An act, RS 32057, to repeal Chapter 25 of Title 37, blah, 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 being enacted by the Louisiana legislature, Section 1. Let's see. No person shall, Section 3. Intentionally inject, release, apply, or disperse by any means a chemical compound, substance, or apparatus into the atmosphere within the borders of this state for the express purpose of affecting the temperature, weather, climate, or intensity of sunlight. The provisions of this paragraph shall not apply to the injection, release, dispersal of fire retardant or fire suppressant substances for the purposes of extinguishing or suppressing fire, or to the aerial application of seeds, fertilizers, or pesticides for agriculture or forestry purposes. So it's perfectly fine for an airplane to fly over you and spread Roundup, and you have to breathe all that crap in. That's perfectly okay. But the so-called chemtrails that they're all paranoid about, first it was the chemtrails that were trying to put the 5G in your bodies. Then they changed it that the COVID-19 vaccine was going to be whatever, put the 5G signals in your body or whatever, because, again, these people are a bunch of frickin' morons. See, the Section 2, Chapter 25 of Title 37 is hereby repealed. So the original version, the present law prohibits the discharge of air contaminants into the air of the state and provides for certain exceptions. Proposed law maintains present law and prohibits the introduction of substances into the atmosphere for the express purpose of modifying weather, temperature, climate, or sunlight. Further provides exception for firefighting, agriculture, and forestry. Now, what if it's not my express purpose? What if my purpose is to draw some little neat lines in the sky. And I say, that's what I want to do. My purpose here is to make the conservatives paranoid over what the hell's being flown over their heads. If it just so happens to affect the weather, that's just a side effect. Would that be okay? As long as my express purpose is to do something other than modify the weather, if it has the after effect of modifying the weather, according to this wording, it should be okay, right? Present law also provides for issuance of a license to modify weather, for application and license fees, for disposition of the fees, for penalties for modifying weather without a license, and for the evaluation of modification operations. Proposed law repeals present law. So everyone's all scared and afraid of, the weather being modified or what have you, or the climate. They're not worried about climate change, but they're worried about some airplane flying over you, potentially seeding clouds with ice crystals to make it more susceptible to rain or something to that effect. Because that's pretty much the levels of weather modification that we have. But they think we're out here, stopping hurricanes, that you could just put things in the clouds and hurricanes happen. We saw there was one video that was on the other day that was showing all the different, weather satellites, not satellites, but towers, and showing, I guess, the Doppler around these areas. And it's amazing that all of these weather patterns were just around these circles and nowhere else. But if you're not one of the poorly educated Donald Trump said that he loved after the 2016 Nevada primaries, you might understand the fact that the reason you have all these circles around the towers, because the towers have a signal strength that only goes out so far, and as such, you're only going to see a certain radius around those towers. So it's not that these towers are creating weather, like some idiots think. It's that these towers are reporting the weather within the radius of those towers and the signal strength thereof. Bunch of dumbasses in this state. Bunch of dumbasses in this country, which is why we have Donald Trump as president.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. That's the 250 kilometer. The right doesn't do satire well. The right does not do satire well, and we'll be getting to that in a little bit with the whole liberal dandruff thing. But first, we'll say hello to Rose. Hello, Rosie Posey. How are you today? Are you you're coming for scritches? Yes, you like scritches? Just don't bite me like you did the other time, because I don't want to shout and hurt everybody's eardrums, because that wasn't nice of you, Rosie Posies. But she loves snuggling with her mama. She won't snuggle with me, but she will hop on my shoulders and be my little shoulder dragon during the podcast to get occasional scritches. Hey, Kevin, good to see you in the chat. Let's see, Roxanne, hello to Roxanne, I believe already. Let's see, my MAGA sweetie told me he falls for that crap. So sorry. Why do you have a MAGA sweetie? Nobody should have a MAGA sweetie. MAGAs don't deserve sweetness. They deserve horribleness and all the bad stuff to happen to them. Oh my goodness, rubbing up against my face too? Wow, you're really wanting snuggles today. Yeah, pss, pss, pss. They're pss-pssing you. They're pss-pssing you, Rosie. Thank you for joining the podcast. It's the highlight of the show when Rosie Posey joins. I wish Gloria would come. Gloria is a very precious kitty too, but she doesn't like me. Hey, Alton, good to see you. All the way from Paradise, Texas. Take me down to the Paradise, Texas. Anyway, that was terrible. See, chemtrail is the easy intro to conspiracy theories. A jumbo jet once circled my old work, putting a massive trail over a government building. The theorists would have just crapped themselves. Yes, they would have. But yeah. Oh, you're laying down on my shoulder. Holy crap. That's amazing. I can't believe that you're laying down. Now, of course, you're cloaked and everybody can only see your paw, but I'm shook. I am absolutely shook right now. This is like the closest she ever gets to me. And she's like kneading on my shoulders. Like it's a little claw. Oh, did you see that? Reaching for my hand and pulling the hand in so that I can scratch her better. You are such a sweet little baby today, aren't you? That is such a sweet little baby. Anyway, Very sweet. Anyway, let's see. Let's go on. Yeah, MAGA makes me puke. My MAGA suite is dealing with dementia as well. Sorry, everyone. I normally check first, but in a lot of pain. I'm adult. Apologies, everyone. That's understandable. Somebody dealing with dementia supporting MAGA, that tracks. That at least is something that's understandable. Anyway. Yeah, biscuits are demanding attention. My shoulder biscuits were absolutely demanding attention. Hey, TV2 Live, good to see you. Thank you for joining. Go subscribe to TV2 Live. And Trucker John and lots of other people. Hey, Big Hook's here. The catnip perfume works. Yeah. If I believe that would work, I would put some on just to get them to come snuggle with me. I would love for that to work. However, I don't know if that would work. Maybe I should try. I don't know. I'll try and report back to y'all about if rubbing catnip on me will make the cats want to come near me more. The best way to get Gloria, the calico, to come near me for any extended period of time, if I don't catch her and hold her, is to play cat videos where you have little kittens meowing, because she wants to be a mommy so bad. She will just come look for those meowing kittens. It's very sweet. But, you know, she won't come looking for me. Boo-hoo. I was about to start recording something, and then I was about to burp, so I don't know. Let's, there we go. I had to burp, but I muted myself so you didn't have to hear the burp. Anyway, let me do it. For some reason, I'm having a little bit of indigestion today from what I ate today versus the fact that I have the Zep bound, and that sometimes can make me have upset stomach. It does work, huh? I will try it, Leanna. Good to see you, Leanna. Yes, Rosie is perfect. She is. Sophia is a little more snuggly, but she's also somewhat more independent, and she also likes to attack the dogs. It's hilarious when she attacks the dogs, because it's a little 12-pound cat with 2 giant labs, and she will chase them out the room, and they just do not want to have to. They want to love on her, but they won't. But they can't. My neck and my mid-back have been causing me to have bad migraine every day. Sleep deprivation. I'm another. I feel you. I mean, my sleep hasn't been the greatest either, so I definitely feel you there. All right. So we have another case of a young child who may be deported and that will risk her life. So the Department of Homeland Security terminated the family's humanitarian parole before it expired, and the family fears that they might not be able to get it back. So a Mexican girl, 4 years old, has been getting life-saving treatments in Los Angeles after her family's immigration status was abruptly revoked. They had been here legally, and then they're revoking their status. If they deport us and take away my daughter's access to her specialized care, she will die, says Daisy Vargas, the girl's mother. And she said it in Spanish at a news conference. Her 4-year-old daughter, who is being identified by the initials SGV, was born with a defect in her small intestines known as short bowel syndrome. Condition does not allow her body to absorb nutrients from regular food. Instead, the girl receives all the nutrients she needs intravenously through a treatment known as total parenteral nutrition, or TPN. The doctors are treating her have stated very clearly that if her treatment is interrupted, she will die within days. She will die within days. This is a classic example where deportation would equal death for this child. A desperate situation. To prevent malnutrition, SGV receives TPN treatment each night at home for at least 14 hours, the mother and her attorney said. During the day when the girl goes to preschool or accompanies her mother to the supermarket, she wears a portable version of the treatment in a backpack. 4 times a day, she spends 1 hour connecting her daughter to gastric tubes. The company that manufactures the equipment that delivers the intravenous nutrition says the girl does not allow the equipment to travel outside the United States, which, again, why would it not allow the equipment to travel outside the United States? Like, that's another problem with our healthcare system. Like, why can't, if she does get deported, why not at least make sure that she can have the things that she needs to survive? But you're not going to allow this young girl, if this administration acts like a bunch of crapheads, you're not going to allow them to keep at least the devices that allow her to be sustained and kept alive. I mean, that's just one of the problems with our unadulterated pure capitalism that the conservatives tend to love. Capitalism kills, and this is just another example of capitalism killing. Before coming to the United States nearly 2 years ago, SGV was in a really terrible shape and having a very difficult time surviving. The girl had been receiving care in Mexico, spending hours in a hospital bed, receiving nutrients intravenously. SGV was not growing or getting better, desperate to get better. Vargas and her partner used the defunct CBP One app on July 2023 to legally enter the U.S. through the southern border. The family was then granted humanitarian parole for the purpose of seeking medical treatment. The girl was taken to a hospital in San Diego on their arrival, and she was in such poor health, the family and attorney said. A year later, she was referred to Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. Doctors there have been caring for her SGV for the past year, monitoring the TPN treatment she receives. Now, with the help my daughter receives in the United States, she has the opportunity to leave the hospital, see the world, and live like a child her age. According to the family's legal team, the humanitarian parole was set to expire at the end of July, and Vargas was currently fighting to get it extended, but they canceled it. They terminated the parole and work authorization. If you do not depart the United States immediately, you will be subject to potential law enforcement actions that will result in your removal from the United States unless you have otherwise obtained a lawful basis to remain here, is what they said. This is why this administration is a bunch of freaking idiots. You cannot call anybody in this administration pro-life, because they are not pro-life. And I understand that pro-life is a colloquialism for being against abortion, but still, it's a horrible colloquialization because you're not pro-life. If you would deport this young girl who was here legally, she did not violate the laws. They jumped through all the right hoops. They did all the right steps, and now they want to kick her out, which is going to be a death sentence for this child. Don't tell me you're frickin' pro-life. However, we should know that these people are horrible people because Joni Ernst, in a town hall, went ahead and said this BS to the people.
When we're talking about the corrections in this reconciliation bill, again, it's corrections of overpayments and people that have not been eligible for these programs by law as it is currently written.
That's just a lie, or at least an overestimate of the amount of people who might be receiving benefits who shouldn't be. If you are not here under our laws, you are not eligible for Medicaid. Let's make that clear. Now, might some people slip through the cracks? Sure. Also, some people who are not eligible for Medicaid, who are still here, can still use the emergency room, and they can't turn them away because they have to treat them in an emergency. So by not providing these people Medicaid, they're more likely to have worse health outcomes. But they don't care about that. They don't care about the lives of people. But the idea that, all these people are getting health care that shouldn't be is an absurd statement. Furthermore, the difference between us, the people on the left, and these MAGA conservative types is this. One of them, at least, is this. We would rather have too many people get treatment, get care, get benefits, and make sure that everybody who should be getting those benefits gets them, instead of giving too few people benefits and having people who are eligible for it, who are not getting it, slip through the cracks. Almost the same as voting as well. I mean, if you look at how we treat voting, we would rather make sure that everybody gets the opportunity to vote who should be able to vote, and if one or two vote who shouldn't, and that's probably the maximum extent of the amount of people that are voting who shouldn't, one or two, not enough to change an election, but if, they happen to get past the checks or whatever, fine. Again, it's not the huge problem that they make it out to be, but I'd rather everybody be able to cast a ballot than preventing people who are eligible to vote from voting. Republicans would rather make sure that nobody votes who's not supposed to vote and don't care if in casting that wide net that other people who should be able to vote aren't getting the opportunity to vote. That's what happened in Florida in 2000. way back then, that's exactly what happened. Catherine Harris, the head of the state, Secretary of State's department, she cast a wide net and removed a bunch of people from the rolls, many of whom should not have been removed from the rolls, and as such weren't able to vote because we did not yet have provisional ballots yet. So that's just a different mindset between us and them. They would rather infringe on people's rights to make sure that people are not getting to do things that citizens get, or legal, or people here in followance of our laws. We would rather make sure that everybody be cared for, and everybody who has the abilities and the rights that they should be able to take advantage of are able to take advantage of them. Let's continue.
So when you are arguing about illegals that are receiving Medicaid benefits,
they're not.
1.4 million.
I have no reason to believe her numbers.
1.4. They are not eligible, so they're will
not
be coming off.
They're not eligible, so they're not getting it.
So people are not. Well, we all are going to die.
We all are going to die. Yes, we are all going to die. But to use that as a justification to pass these horrible bills that will strip healthcare away from people who are here legally, who are citizens, who are getting caught up in their attempts to, cut all willy-nilly without measuring twice, people are going to get harmed by these horrible policies of this administration. But she doubled down on the crap. She doubled down on this BS. Let's listen to her next statement.
To sincerely apologize for a statement that I made yesterday at my town hall.
She's going to sincerely apologize. Do we believe that there's a sincere apology that's, coming down the pipe? Do we believe that?
I was in the process of answering a question that had been asked by an audience member when a woman who was extremely distraught screamed out from the back corner of the auditorium, "People are going to die." And I made an incorrect assumption that everyone in the auditorium understood that, yes, we are all going to perish from this earth.
So she's doubling down on her horribleness by clearly just saying, oh, well, I thought everybody knew that everybody died. Of course everybody knows that people are going to die, but to use that line in response to people's concerns over your support over terrible legislation, people could die because of these policies. Well, people die. Is she saying the same thing about this young girl, this 4-year-old girl, who has the opportunity to get life-saving medical treatment in this country and won't be able to if the family gets deported? Oh, but everybody dies. Yeah, this girl shouldn't have to die in a week, but likely will if we kick her out of this country. But people are going to die. The people who should be dying by natural causes are not, unfortunately. I'm not going to advocate for people to have unnatural deaths, but there are many people who should absolutely have natural deaths come down upon them, and those include the people who just callously say, well, we all die.
So I apologize. And I'm really, really glad that I did not have to bring up the subject of the tooth fairy as well.
She's really, really glad that she didn't have to bring up the subject of the tooth fairy. Maybe she needs a little bit of the truth fairy. She probably needs the truth fairy to come down and, give her some facts. But then again, the truth fairy doesn't come to MAGA houses anyway, clearly, because Donald Trump said in 2016 that he loves the poorly educated, and the poorly educated continue to actively seek to prove they're still worthy of that love every day. Now, if you hold on a second, I have to respond to somebody who is knocking on my door. Sorry, I'll have to educate my children on how to read labels on their food. Anyway. Yes, she's proud to be sending people to her imaginary afterlife. She also shot this snotty video in a cemetery. She's clearly wishing death on the poor. Yes, she is. Well, they all wishing death on the poor. And actually, I forgot to do one thing. I forgot to include one part in this video. What all these Republicans have made us know or made us aware, or that we should be aware of, is this very simple thing. Alan Grayson was absolutely correct when it came to his description of the GOP health care plan, and his statements ring true to this day. Anybody need a reminder of what Congressman Grayson said? Here we go.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. You may recall that a few weeks ago, President Obama came to this chamber and he addressed the chamber on health care before a joint session of the House and the Senate. During that session, I was privileged to be here, and I saw my colleagues on the far side of the aisle, the Republicans, waving pieces of paper during his speech. And I was wondering what they were. I couldn't imagine. It almost seemed like they wanted President Obama's autograph. I just didn't get it. I heard from one of my colleagues that this is what they called the Republican health care plan. I went over after the speech was over. I picked up a copy that was lying down on the Republican side, and it turns out that the Republicans' health care plan was a blank piece of paper. I inquired further, trying to find out exactly what the Republicans' health care plan is, and it's my duty and pride tonight to be able to announce exactly what the Republicans plan to do for health care in America. It's this. Very simply, it's a very simple plan. Here it is, the Republicans' health care plan for America. Don't get sick. That's right, don't get sick. If you have insurance, don't get sick. If you don't have insurance, don't get sick. If you're sick, don't get sick. Just don't get sick. That's what the Republicans have in mind for you, America. That's the Republicans' health care plan. But I think that the Republicans understand that that plan isn't always going to work. It's not a foolproof plan. So the Republicans have a backup plan in case you do get sick. If you get sick in America, this is what the Republicans want you to do. If you get sick, America, the Republican health care plan is this. Die quickly. That's right. The Republicans want you to die quickly if you get sick. Now, the Democrats have a different plan. The Democrats say that if you have health insurance, we're going to make it better. If you don't have health insurance, we're going to provide it to you. If you can't afford health insurance, then we'll help you to afford health insurance. So America gets to decide. Do you want the Democratic plan or do you want the Republican plan? Remember, the Republican plan, don't get sick. And if you do get sick, die quickly. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
We need more Alan Graysons in the House, at least when it comes to that sort of thing, because holy crap, is how his comments still ring true to this day. It proves that, you know, these Republicans have not changed a bit. Their callous nature when it comes to poor people, when it comes to the sick, when it comes to folks who, you know, need help, they just don't want to give it to them. And if you actually looked at the Republican health care plan that was they're actually trying to push, and if you remember during the whole debate over the Affordable Care Act, they were waving some papers or whatever, and some of them might have been empty pieces of paper, but some of them contained their version of the bill. And their idea of compromise was do what we want to do instead, because they don't understand what compromise means, because Donald Trump says that he loved the poorly educated, and they keep trying to prove their love. They were trying to prove themselves to be poorly educated even well before Donald Trump was even in the picture, apparently. But they were preparing themselves to be able to have a long list of examples of why they are poorly educated, so they could show Donald Trump sometime in the future. Maybe they could tell the future. Maybe they could, divine certain things. Why they didn't learn the Powerball numbers and let us all know, who knows? But yeah. And their plan was basically that you should be able to sell insurance across state lines. What does that mean? What that means is that individual states shouldn't be able to regulate insurance, like the 10th Amendment would say that they should be able to do. And instead, they would say you sell it across state lines, which would then allow companies to go to the state that has the fewest regulations and sell from there, so that the people in other states with bigger regulations wouldn't be able to have a say in what was going on, and so people would get horrible health insurance. And then if you didn't qualify for health insurance because, you had a pre-existing condition, they would shove you into high-risk pools, which basically means that these high-risk state-run pools would have to insure these high-risk folks without the ability of getting to benefit from the low-risk folks. That's not how insurance is supposed to work. If you have a work insurance, you have an enrollment period during your, open enrollment session, or you might have a special enrollment period if a qualifying event happens. But you aren't denied based on your existing health, because the idea is that you have a large enough pool of people that if you happen to have some people who are having high costs associated with it, they will be offset by the people that don't have high costs. It'll all average out in the end. That's how insurance is supposed to work, but the Republicans don't understand that, because the Republicans are full of those poorly educated people that Donald Trump claims to continue to love. That's it. Ponder Monkey. We just all need to unify doing exactly what the GOP wants. Exactly. See, before the ACA, I was quoted $1,200 a month because I have birth defects. That's terrible. Terrible. Yeah, pre-existing condition clauses were some of the most abused stuff out there. Rescission was also, because basically rescission allowed these insurers to basically say, okay, if you get sick enough, we're just going to cancel your policy. The Affordable Care Act stopped that. They basically prevented insurance companies from saying, you're going to gamble that you might get sick, and we're going to gamble that you don't get sick. But if you get too sick, we're going to be able to cut off the gamble. Again, it's not how insurance is supposed to work. But they don't care. Yeah, Ponder Monkey over on Twitch. They are good at taking the money, but they're not so good about the disbursements. Exactly. So, why does the freaking thing keep beeping? I don't want it to beep. I wanted to turn off the notifications on this darn thing, but for some reason, it won't. Let's see. Settings. Notifications. Let's disable desktop notifications. There we go. That should maybe hopefully clear it, because I don't want to hear the beeps or the whatever. The beeps, the sweeps, and the creeps. What movie is that from? Can CNN and MSNBC start asking Republicans if they agree with Trumpy that Biden has been a robot for 5 years? Yeah. That's just mind-numbingly stupid on Trump's part to retruth that, or whatever it's called over on Lie Social, but he's going to do it because he's the most immature president that I think we've ever had. I know he is the most immature president that we have ever had. Main topic of the show tonight. Not going to be a terribly long topic, but one of the main things I wanted to say. For a while now, I've been talking about how the media failed us. It's in the intro. I've had other videos about it. The media has failed us in how they cover Donald Trump. They failed us by saying, by talking about his bankruptcies meant that he was a failed business person. No. I mean, he may be a terrible business person, but his bankruptcies were specifically to help him enrich himself and his, his family, without having to worry about paying back the people he owed money to through the corporations that were declaring bankruptcy. Yeah, is he a terrible business person? I'm sure. I mean, it's been shown at least at one point that if he would have just put money into mutual funds or hedge funds or whatever, he would have had more money than he did at some point over the course of his lifetime. because he doesn't run the best businesses. He doesn't have a great mind for business. But what he does have a mind for is the con, because he's a con artist and he knows how to rip people off. Now, this whole taco thing with the tariffs and them saying Trump always chickens out. Look, I love when we can come up with something that gets under his pasty, orange, nasty skin. I love that we can do that. I love to show that we can show how fragile he is when it comes to criticisms of him, because it helps to show how unstable he is and how he's not somebody that we need to be having anywhere near the launch codes or the Oval Office or what have you. But when it comes to this particular thing with Taco, the media, while it might be fun to make jokes about it, the media is perpetuating the idea that Donald Trump's actions on tariffs are not being done purposefully, that he's just going through it all willy-nilly and, just not knowing what he's doing. He absolutely knows what he's doing, because he knows what he's doing when he's doing a con. And the con here is that by doing these tariffs, by just raising tariffs, lowering tariffs, he's making the market not stable. He's making it so that, the wealthy cronies that are part of his administration, who donate to his campaigns, who buy a bunch of Trump coin cryptocurrency to get favors with him and get on his good side, so that maybe he'll put tariffs on this thing next, on this country or these imported goods, to help his wealthy cronies out, because the wealthy people can just take their money and buy the dip. And then when he, according to the media, chickens out and changes the tariff back to something that was a little more tolerable from these other companies and countries or whatever, the market then goes back up, and then his rich cronies can sell. Again, it's not that he's just chickening out. It's not a matter of chickening out. It's a matter of him being a con artist. And when the media fails to recognize what he is actually doing here, they make it easier for him to get away with it. Because they like, he's just chickening out. He doesn't know what he's doing. His irresponsible actions are done for, because he doesn't have a good mind for business. I mean, he may not have a good mind for business. I'm not going to say that his business ideas are great. Trump steaks, Trump ties, whatever. But we should be under no misconceptions here that his actions are not purposefully done. And the media will keep insisting that they are not purposely done and say that, he's just chickening out. You don't understand Donald Trump if you think he's just chickening out. And while it's fun for everybody else who is not in the media to use these memes, to perpetuate these ideas because, they want to get under Trump's skin, and that's fine. I have no problem with individuals trying to get under Trump's skin, but the media needs to take this man more seriously, needs to understand the depths that he will go to accomplish his cons, to rip people off, to harm other people financially so that he can have financial gain. He knows the con. His book should have been called The Art of the Con. He will continue to manipulate the system, especially if the media fails to understand that what he's doing is market manipulation to the benefit of himself and the people around him. Anyway. Let's see. Every time Trump makes an insane announcement, I make money in the stock market. There you go. This is deliberate grifting. Absolutely. Unfortunately, there are not enough people in the media who understand this, and that's the thing that's frustrating. It's very frustrating to see people making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, working as on-air personalities in the media, who are proving time and time again that they they have no business being anywhere near a microphone, because they don't understand who Donald Trump is. They don't understand what he's doing, and it's to the detriment of the financial health of the American people. Hell, it's to the detriment of the physical health of people who are here as well. So, let's see. Yeah, basically it's a heist. Exactly, Joseph. Wait, Big Hook, those blood-sucking females, I was referring to mosquitoes. What do you think I was referring to? Super Saint, mosquitoes generally love me. It sucks. Or they suck. Right? Yes, Spaceballs. Very good, Ponder Monkey. You got it. Anywho. This is going to be fun. I apologize ahead of time for what you're about to hear. Because this is just terrible. This is absolutely terrible. Anyway. On May 22nd, 2 Thursdays ago, I was calling in to listen to the Ringside Politics radio program here on 990 AM, where I often get many of my clips that I like to use during the show because it's a good example of how the poorly educated speak out and love this president, and again try and prove they're worthy of that love daily. So, and he's had this creative director on his show for a while now who has been using AI to try and make these so-called parodies, and then it starts off with some sort of little poem before the parodies. So in order to get the full-on experience of, you know, what these people are saying or doing and how they're acting on this show and why it's so cringeworthy and terrible, let's have a listen to the intro to this bit and the bit itself, shall we?
James Comey hit send, then try to erase, but the truth won't vanish without a trace. Secret Service watching, the swamps in a spin. 8647, where do we begin? From Steele's fake dossier to a laptop denied, 2 justice systems, no truth to hide.
There's no laptop. It was a thumb drive. Let's continue.
Trump's back on the scene. No more bluff. Calling out lies. We've had enough. 51 agents tried to block the show, but the facts keep rising. Now the people know. From peace deals abroad to more jobs at home, President Trump's pledge to lead. We're not alone. So tune up your voices and join the fight.
Listen to Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left. That's right. That just reminded me exactly of my War on Christmas intro that I do during Thanksgiving and you know, New Year's. But let's continue.
On the Ringside Politics Parody of the Week. Tonight or this morning.
Tonight or this morning. He knew it was going to be aired in the morning, but the poem ended in tonight. That shows you, first of all, just how bad this parody is going to be. So-called parody. I don't know if you'd call it a parody or not, because it's not actually a parody of an actual song. It's just a, you know, his own little thing. That they use AI for this too. So let's hear this thing that was created, shall we? Again, I apologize.
All right. Let's jump right into our parody of the week. Let's check it out.
James Comey hits and then deleted his post, but the Secret Service came not to toast. 8647, what did it mean? Now Jim's under review and it's hitting the screen. Hillary's servers got bleach bit spray. She smashed all her phones, then walked away.
Wow, just the rap is
We stood up and bent the rules, said no intent, like we're all just fools. But for President Trump,
well, they are fools, but you know.
They raid and indict with 2 standards of L. The public knew was not right. 8647, what's the code? Another deep state TDS woke episode. James Comey leaked his memos to trigger a probe. Jim played the victim, then changed his robe. 8647, truth's not gone. We the people keep marching on. 51 former intel agents signed a letter to deceive America. Democrats called Hunter's laptop Russian disinformation.
It was.
Just to help Joe Biden win an Oval Office destination. The media knew it was real, the emails, the cash, but CNN covered it up to conceal Joe's stash. The media ran.
Do you remember when Dennis Miller used to be funny and then he became conservative and stopped being funny? This is just kind of shows that just conservatives don't understand humor at all. Like, conservative parodies are just shit.
And with it, no time to pause, all to stop Trump, to rig their cause. The woke called Trump Hitler and try to divide, while 47 brought peace deals and global pride.
Peace deals and global pride. What is he smoking? That's what I want to know.
Abraham Accords, Middle East tour, trillions in deals, American jobs galore.
Trillions in deals. You mean the ones for his own organization to like open up something in Dubai so he can get an airplane gifted to him and then use the airplane for himself after his term?
New factories, new pipelines, crude oil is back home. President Trump
under Biden, we had no problem with oil drilling.
Turned America to strength the world had known. 86-47 won a race. The lies Dems told to steal the 2020 race. Yes, the laptop was real. Yes, the dossier fake. But President Trump's return to power was what's at stake. 45 and now 47, American justice wins. We the people voted for President Trump and now he's back.
Dean in the chat, I can't understand these people. Trump lives rent-free in their rectums. Hilarious.
Once again, for all James Comey's lies, he can rot in a jail on Mars.
And Mars, but not Uranus?
Justice is done. With the former director behind bars, President Trump has returned, not to bow, only lead, as President Trump makes this pledge to you and me.
The dollar will remain our strength
by right, securing peace through
American economic might.
With unwavering resolve, I vow today
to keep our nation's prosperity on world display.
Wow. Wow.
Wow indeed, Jeff. Wow, but you're wowing because you're impressed. I'm wowing because it was utter shite. And I was on hold having to listen to this garbage. And usually, if I'm not calling into this show, and when it comes time to about 8:30 on Thursday mornings, I'm just like, nope, I'm not listening to the rest of the show because I don't want to have to hear this horrible garbage that, But anyway, here's my response to the parody that came like about 5 minutes later.
All right, back to the phone calls. Let's get the other side of the political equation. Caller goes by the handle Liberal Dan is with us. Good morning, sir. Welcome. How are you?
Good morning, Jeff. I hope you don't pay too much for those parodies because they're unlistenable. Anyway, terrible. Like, AI has a long way to go.
Yeah, AI absolutely has a long way to go. There's some great things that I've seen that AI has created that are hysterical, but in this particular circumstance, AI absolutely has a very long way to go. Unless I'm being too unreasonable about it. Maybe the issue is simply this. AI only has so much limits, and they can't make people who are unfunny funny. That being said, my criticism of him 2 Thursdays ago inspired this parody made by their so-called creative director. Let's have a listen, shall we?
Out of the blue, Liberal Dan got some bitter things to sling. Says my AI is unlistenable, a waste of time. But this big shot leftist ain't worth a dime. Liberal Dandruff, you're just a flake. Living in a world where facts don't make. Peddling hate and acting tough, but you're nothing more than Liberal Dandruff. Dan makes plans, but they all crash
the fuse so tight, but boom, Dan's the one blown out of sight. Liberal Dandruff, you're just a flake, living in a world of facts don't break. Little and hate and acting tough, but you're nothing more than liberal dandruff. Liberal dandruff, all talk, no grow, just a snowflake with no place to go.
I mean, they say every conservative accusation is a confession, but holy crap. Just a snowflake with no place to go, I guess. You know, I'll give him, it was a little bit catchy for a little bit. You know, there was a little bit of catchiness there that I guess that the AI got, but wow, for me to live rent-free in that guy's head that he had just go on and make a full-on parody, or so-called parody about me, is just, I didn't know, because normally I listen to the show on the weekdays, but I don't like listening to the show on the Thursdays after 8:30 because I don't want to have to hear the just douche chill inspired music that just makes me want to retch. But I happen to turn on, I guess, their best of, if you can use the term best of, while I was driving on, I guess, to Costco or something on Sunday. And all of a sudden, he was talking about one Dan, and then he's like, speaking of Dan, there's Liberal Dan, and here's the parody made about him. And I'm just like, what is going on? And I got home and told my wife, I was just like, this guy made a freaking parody about me. Although, here's the thing. I may just very well use it as my first outro song. Because I don't think that Twitch is going to do it, so it might be something to listen to at the end of every show, where everybody gets to listen to Liberal Dandruff just for the lulz. But anyway, there it is. There's the Liberal Dandruff parody. Wow, as Jeff says, wow. Hey Chad, good to see you. I haven't mastered ChatGPT, but humans aren't supposed to, I guess. I don't think I've mastered ChatGPT either. Snowflake dandruff kind of works. I guess you're right. You're right that the snowflake versus dandruff, that might work. Where can I buy some Liberal Dandruff? I don't know. Maybe I should put it on the Liberal Dan store. I don't know. Maybe if I make maybe when I finally get shirts made, I'll have a Liberal Dandruff shirt, or maybe that should be a level of following, a level of support. Liberal Danimal, Liberal Dan something, and then Liberal Dandruff. Maybe that's the top level. Liberal Dandruff, folks. That's how you fight the right, Dan. Oh, their teeth. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I absolutely, I'll embrace it. That's why I do Fat Man Rants. That's the whole reason why Fat Man Rants exist as a thing. Because I was tired of having to deal with people coming on my videos. Well, not coming on my videos, but watching my videos and responding to them by you're just fat, what do you know? And I'd be like, fine, let's just do Fat Man Rant. So when I'm doing a Fat Man Rant, you can't then come in and say, oh, your opinion is wrong because I already said that I'm fat. I'm wearing it, like Tyrion Lannister says, wear it like a suit of armor, it can never be used to hurt you. So, see, Lucifer Dandruff sings, so dumbing down Liberal Dan, not cool. Your head and shoulders above. There you go. There you go, Big Hook. That's vid cocky all over your videos. But yeah, your head and shoulders above the right. That Big Hook. I love it. I love it. Thank you. That just justifies my playing it right there so that you can make that joke. Perfect. Let's see. So you saw a shirt, Jeff saw a shirt, I'm very vulnerable right now. If any goth girls would like to take advantage of me. I should get that for one of my kids. That's all I'm going to say on that one. So Dean Baker says, did you use ChatGPT? I don't know what AI software was used for that song. I didn't make that. I don't claim that song. I don't claim it at all. That's somebody else using it to, I guess, mock me, but I'll embrace it. I'll embrace the liberal dandruff. I'm just that flaky, I guess. Let's see, if this person was singing this about Biden, it's still crap. Yeah, exactly. Let's see, bro, honestly, this is gold for Trump supporters. It's funny and it hits the talking points. It's more funny because they know how mad it would make the left. I see, but that's the thing. It doesn't necessarily make me mad that they made it. It just makes me it's just cringy. But, you know, they want to come after me. I'd rather them come after me than anybody else. So bring it on, dudes. Let's see, Atrocious said, everyone, fuck yeah, I love that. Naturally, they stoop to malicious personal attacks when they can't refute your arguments. It's exactly what they do. And yes, I'm just sharing it with the world. Got here and mixed the contest. Well, don't worry, Atrocious, at every game. I will play that yet again, and you'll get to hear it, because instead of going to a hard out with Twitch, I'll play that, at least to end this show, and then I'll play the parody again, and then we'll move on to the Nimbus, so that, whatever. Anyway. But the fact that he just came up with that is just because he had to respond to me, because I hurt his poor little feelings. I hurt his poor little feelings when I insulted his use of AI. I mean, I have parodies on my channel too. Now, my one for the Sound of Freedom that I did, I had a couple of slip-ups, but I also didn't use AI. It was my own singing voice. It was using, I guess, the karaoke background check, so I didn't have to use any artificial intelligence. But I guess artificial intelligence is more than what manga folks bring to the table, right? But yeah. Suzanne, Liberal Dan is a modern-day George Carlin. It just makes me just smile when I hear that, because that's just an amazing compliment, and I appreciate that so much. But yeah, like, if you listen, like, I start doing and it's the Sound of Silence parody, but it's the Disturbed Sound of Silence parody. If you've not heard it yet, I'm not going to play it during the show, because I don't want this show to be unmonetized, because that one's not, because, again, I have copyright. It's not a copyright strike, but it's a copyright warning that anything that people watch that video, it's going to go to the people who made that. But it's like that whole parody was like, you know, about Jim Caviezel and how I used to like his movies and TV shows, and then he made The Sound of Freedom, and it's just crap. And then he used anti-Semitic tropes to try and push the movie out there, saying that they take the kids and the cabal takes the adacronome or whatever from their bodies when they're dead. He literally said this while talking about The Sound of Freedom and trying to spread The Sound of Freedom. But I had to go really low with that one. It's like, Jim Caviezel, my old friend, my friendship for you's at an... Not fanship. My fanship for you's at an end. Anyway, so if you want to hear that song, just look up Sound of Freedom on my channel. Just search sound, or just look for parody, and you'll find the parody playlist, and it's on there somewhere. Some of my early parodies that I have listed, I'm not super proud of, simply because I like the lyrics that I made, but I was trying to be too quiet to not wake the family up, because I was doing it in the middle of COVID, and I had to kind of lower my voice, and I almost went to my NPR voice, but for singing, and it didn't quite work very well. But I have other parodies out there. Hell, I have the We'll Fight Back parody to You'll Be Back, You'll Be Back from Hamilton as well. So, anyway, so that's that. One thing I want to do first before, I really should get another image for behind it. I'll record another intro for this before, we do this. So I'll start recording it now, but we're gonna have, for a while, it's been a long time since I have done a unraveling toxic masculinity video, and I haven't really seen a bunch of these whatever Fresh and Fit type information podcast stuff come up on my streams. Like, I haven't really seen it on my timelines or whatever. I used to get them a lot, and that's why I started doing these videos, because I was like, we really need to, tackle all of the crap that these people are saying. That being said, here is a video from Andrew, I guess. This guy's name is Andrew. Quite a looker he is, eh? Andrew from the Whatever podcast, and this is the one, if y'all remember, that has the sex doll with the blue hair sitting in the background randomly. That's this podcast. So we're going to have a listen to what he has to say. Actually, let's do this one first. This one is the one we wanted to do first. Let us watch this and we'll see what he has to say.
We have Lucas here. A gentleman offers chivalry only if it is earned in exchange for traditional ladylike behavior. You're offering me your time. Do you have any idea what my billing rate is? No, I'd be offering you my time. I think this is perhaps in response to you.
Chivalry is earned. So what you're saying is it's a first date. How do I earn you just being a gentleman and opening the door for me?
That's a great question.
Anyway, so again, here's this Andrew guy, but he's doing it, I guess, from chat, from his own home and not within their studios or whatever. But how is chivalry earned? Well, the idea of chivalry, some might say it's dead, but, you shouldn't treat women well or properly with common decency and respect because they're women. You should treat all people, before you know anything about them, with common decency, or maybe uncommon decency at this point, and respect, because that's what rational, reasonable, kind-hearted people do. Let's continue.
The idea here is just this. This used to just be baked into the pie, used to just be assumed. All women deserve chivalry. But why? Well, because if you go back 70 years ago, all the women who got married were virgins.
If he believes that, I've got a bridge in Brooklyn. There are many of people having premarital sex who ended up getting married 70 plus years ago. I mean, the idea that premarital sex started in the last 30, 40 years, that's BS. 100% pure, unadulterated BS. But also, it's just toxic. This is why this whole thing is called Unraveling Toxic Masculinity, because it's perpetuating the idea that somebody's value is based on the number of sexual partners that they have. So for women, in this case, their value is reduced, according to these losers, incel basement, types, or at least incel adjacent types, because this guy is surprisingly married. I'm sure she thinks he's cute or whatever, but taste is subjective, right? So, so for women, according to these idiots, their value is lessened by the number of sexual partners had, and conversely, a man's value is improved and seen as you're more valuable if you have more sexual partners. Again, this is antiquated, outdated, patriarchal standards that should make any decent person want to vomit, but these clowns are going to continue to perpetuate it, because what they do on this podcast and other podcasts that are similar is they perpetuate toxic masculinity to their rabid, uninformed, incel, basement-dwelling listeners.
All virgins, they were all chaste, and they were pushing towards virtue. Now,
they were all virgins, all chaste. No, they were not all virgins. They were not all. Some might have been, and then some. I'm sure some of them who said that they were lied. But just as a reminder, though, as to why these men want chaste women, why these men want sexually inexperienced women, because they know what they're bringing in the bedroom is pure trash. They can't satisfy their women and I'll say their women because they treat them as property and not as partners, but they, understand that if somebody who they were to date and marry were to have previous sexual encounters, they're bound to be better than what these guys are bringing. And so they're afraid that the women would then leave them or cheat on them because they'll know that the sex is better than someone else, even though, because that's how they view women. They view women as these terrible people. They literally hate women. I don't know why they even bother dating or marrying them, because they hate them. The only reason why they would is because they hate them, but they view them as property to, have at their own whim or whatever. But goddamn, if a woman decides that she wants to have her own say in things, goddamn if she had decided to, have a little fun during college. I mean, I don't judge people for wanting to stay virgins. If that's your choice, that's your choice. But if you want to have fun and enjoy yourself with other people before getting married, more power to you. I'm not threatened by any of my previous partners' past sexual partners. At least I hadn't been since I was like maybe 16 years old. Maybe at 16 years old, when I was very sexually inexperienced and didn't know what the hell I was doing, maybe at that point I would have been like, I'm afraid what if I'm not doing what, I could do to satisfy well, she's just going to leave me and cheat on me, whatever. And that was very short-lived. Now, I don't believe that at all. But that's what these people think. That's their mindset that they bring to the table.
Let's fast forward here into modernity. Raise your hand at the table if
into modernity.
You're a virgin. Yeah, now raise your hand at the table if you're not in a relationship. Yeah.
But here's what they do. Here is what this podcast would basically be like, I'm going to go find a bunch of women who are not in relationships, who are sexually active, so that I can then trash them for violating the standards that they believe should still exist in society, that they're trying to maintain, they're trying to conserve these standards in society. But, it's just like what, Steven Crowder does. Like when he goes and interviews, or many of the other conservative folks who go out to college campuses, who'll do interviews on the street, who you'll never see them interview somebody on our side of the aisle who will make a good point. Not because we don't make good points, but because they don't have any interest in having conversations with people who will automatically be able to disprove the BS that they're trying to spread. They only want to speak to people who they feel can get them hits when they own them, because they're coming at it from either an impassioned point of view or from maybe, they're not the most informed people either, but they only want the ill-informed people so that they feel intellectually superior. Because the only people that these people can feel intellectually superior to are people who are uninformed, uneducated, etc.
Ain't getting no chivalry. What are you getting for? What? What are you getting it for? What are you getting it for?
Basic respect.
Hang on, what are you
Basic respect.
And someone said basic respect. Exactly. People should have basic respect for fellow human beings. You should not be judging them for what they do. If it's not hurting you, then why do you have such a strong opinion about it? Because he sees his old ways of thinking going the way of the dodo, and he doesn't like it. Because maybe one day even his own wife might be like, you know what, it really could be better outside, and I'd rather be with somebody who, treats me like a partner and a human being and not a commodity and a property.
She says basic
Yeah, it's just basic decency and respect. You have a lady.
Let me ask you a question.
Wait, hang on. If it's about decency and respect, I want flowers and my dinner paid for too.
We have Lucas here.
I want flowers and maybe we should change, our system in this country to make sure that people have equal pay for the salaries and for the jobs that they do. And as such, maybe at that point you can have people, going Dutch or treating or whatever. Now, that being said, this guy clearly is not treating his partners or past partners very well, because I've had women take me out and pay for dinner, and I might have even had somebody buy me flowers. But the idea that he hasn't had that happen to him just goes to show you what a trash human being he is. Now let's go back to that second video, because this one's probably even worse.
Before feminism came around, where did this idea come from that women couldn't work before there was feminism?
You couldn't have a credit card till
they literally
the 70s?
couldn't.
No.
They couldn't have been.
No, listen. Men were responsible for their wives' debts. So you, as the wife, could go to the local department store and you could buy whatever you wanted to on your husband's credit, and he had to pay the debt. So yes, while it's true that they wouldn't give women credit cards, they gave it to the man, the woman could still go spend as much as she wanted to and never was responsible for the debt in the marriage, ever. No debtors ever came for her. She was never responsible for any of it. And the reason you think that this is why the world works is because of what's called standpoint theory. So
let's get back to the standpoint theory for a second. Let's talk about some of the points that he made in this video. They couldn't get credit cards because women were not treated as full-fledged human beings. So he's saying that women should be happy, should have been happy being able to spend their husband's credit cards and not have to worry about repaying the debt because, That's the way that they could be freeloaders or whatever. Because again, they view women as freeloaders. They view women as leeches. They view women as people who should be subservient to them. And they don't like it when they're not. So they don't want women to be able to be independent, because if a woman can be independent, they don't need to settle for their BS. Independent women don't have to settle. I mean, they still might, but they don't have to settle to marry somebody so they can somehow survive in the world. And we're in a better place, in my opinion, that women can get their own credit cards. They can get their own loans. They can be financially independent. And because they're human beings, and all human beings should be able to have that ability to do so. But they don't like women being able to make their own decisions. But they're like, oh, you could use your hubby's credit card, so that makes it okay. Who cares about any dehumanizing that goes along the way, that comes along with the fact that you can't get your own credit card? Again, they're further perpetuating the idea that women are just gold diggers out for your money, which of course is not true. I mean, some might be. I mean, maybe Trump married somebody like that, but, you know, it is what it is. Let's continue and hear his little talks about standpoint theory.
What standpoint theory is it's a feminist theory which says that history, because it's subjective, women's history needs to be told only through the prism of a woman and how a woman thinks about it, rather than what's objectively true. So they'll leave stuff like that completely out. They could work.
But see, the thing is he's picking and choosing what he's going to leave out. I.e. to him, well, you could go spend the money, but you couldn't leave an abusive relationship. You're in an abusive relationship, how are you going to get out if you can't have your own money, if you can't go work, if you can't be treated as a equal in the economy? If you can't do all that, you're not going to be able to leave the abuse that you're suffering. Right? But let's talk about this idea of standpoint theory, for a better standpoint feminism. Now, first of all, there is no reason why anybody should believe anything that this podcast in particular, the whatever podcast, has to say about feminism. Like, if they're presenting something about feminism, including this standpoint theory, you should automatically be suspect of it. Because even he claims that the feminists will leave out certain information, like, oh, women didn't have to pay off the debts that they incurred at the stores, but even though it should be fine that they can't get their own credit cards. No. They should be able to get their own credit cards because they should be able to support themselves without having to rely on a dude. But let's further look at it. He believes that you are not getting objective truths when you follow things like standpoint theory, because you are only looking at it through the perspective of, I guess, the marginalized person. In standpoint feminism, you're looking at it from the point of view of the woman, but in other situations, there might be other standpoints that you might listen to. So if you're somebody who rejects standpoint theory and are currently watching this video, I'm just going to make a point to you. I'm Jewish. Shocker. Most non-Jews should not get to tell people what Jewish life is like, what it is like living life as a Jewish person in this society. Now, I'll make exceptions. If you are a non-Jewish person and you go take like a Jewish world history class or many classes and you get a degree in Jewish history, you get and you are somebody who is scholarly and learned and you know a lot about the Jewish experience in this world, on this planet for the last, 6,000 years, which is, kind of how long the Jewish calendar lasts. But, if they take the time to study that, then I'll give them, I guess, a pass on trying to talk about the experience of Jews in the world, in this country, etc. But the reason they will have gotten their degree and have been successful in their degree is because of the fact that they will have listened to Jewish people who told them and who explained their worldview and life from their perspective. There are absolutely objective realities that can only be known from the point of view of the people experiencing them. You can't know what it's like to be the victim of anti-Semitism. You can't know what it's like to be a Jewish person and watch something on TV like the attack that took place in Boulder, where the people were attacked simply for being Jewish and not for supporting Israel, as some like to say, but for wanting Hamas to release the Israeli hostages. How horrible of people to want terrorists to, not have hostages anymore and to release them and let them free. So why would if you can understand, if you unless you're Jewish, mostly can't understand what it's like to be a Jewish person in this country, and we should be listening to Jewish people when it comes to how things affect them, why wouldn't the same be true for women? Why should men get to say what life is like for a woman? We shouldn't. Only women should be able to say, this is my life experience as a woman. This is what I have to deal with. Now, there's been times when I've, talked about things that happened to me in my life, and I've had women friends who be like, welcome to womanhood for a day, because this is what women have to deal with all the time. And instead of saying like, oh, that happened to me, so it's clearly not a woman's perspective thing, it's like, I'm very sorry y'all have to deal with that. I had to deal with it once. Y'all have to deal with it daily. So I will trust women when they tell me about their lived life experiences. I will trust black people when they tell me about their lived life experience. I will trust trans people to tell me what their lived life experiences are. I will not assume what they are. I can't know what they are. I am not a trans person. I am not a black person. Shocking, I know. I have to, as a reasonable person who tries to be honest, who tries to come at things with facts, logic, and reason, you have to listen to the realities from the standpoint of the people who are marginalized and oppressed. But these type of people make the arguments like, oh, well, women should be happy, should have been happy because you couldn't have debt collectors coming after you even though you spent the money. Because they only see it from their privileged point of view. These guys look at it and be like, oh, look at what these women get to do. They get to sit on the couch. They think, oh, women are like Peggy Bundy. They get to sit on the couch, eat bonbons, watch TV, not clean, and get the benefit while the husband's out working. That's how they view women. And then they take that straw man and say, well, I would like to live that way. Where are my flowers? Where are people buying me dinner? So they say. But again, these people are incels, or they're incel adjacent. And they basically hate women, so therefore they're not going to give any credence to any theory that allows women to explain how their lives are affected by societal norms, and how we should be changing societal norms based on what happens to them as women. Because the lived life experience as a woman is much different than the lived life experience for men. Anyway, what do you think? Agree, disagree? Leave your comments down below. Remember to like the video, share, subscribe to the channel. Unless you're a misogynist, have a good day. And I know I said I wasn't going to do that, but I did it for the last one because why not? Let's see. Atrocious at every game. 100% agree from me. Let's see. There's a lot of stuff to respond to in this one. Let's say, oh God, the guy who wants to repeal the 19th Amendment. Yeah, chivalry seems like an archaic idea of the damsel in distress. I much prefer just don't be a jackass to anyone. Hold the door open for anyone. Exactly. Like, that's what I said. Do I hold the door open for women? By default, yes, because I will hold the door open for anybody. If somebody's walking up behind me and they're a reasonably close distance from the door, I will absolutely hold the door open for them. And the looks that I get from some people, like down here in the South, like I will literally have folks who are black who will be shocked that I, as a white person, held the door open for them. They will absolutely be surprised that I was treating them like I would treat anybody else. Absolutely shocked. See, let's see. His wife is an anti-feminist debater, great family. I mean, I've heard stuff from his wife too, but still. They view women as incubators. Exactly. Let's see, 250 kilo. When I was young, commercials on TV taught me that a woman could bring home the bacon fried up in a pan and never let me forget I was a man. I thought to myself, well, all right then. Atrocious at every game. If I were captioning this clip, I would call it proof that mansplaining exists. I mean, yeah. Do you have correctile function? Then do you have correctile dysfunction? Then F off might be right for you. I tend to like to use the term correctile dysfunction when it comes to that because I think it's a funnier name. And again, a woman came up with it, so I'm more than happy to listen to a woman's point of view on that whole thing as well. Whether or not you want to use the term or not, it is a phenomena that exists and it is real and it happens. Let's see. If they say something about feminism, I assume the opposite is true. If I cared enough, I would Google it, find enough to refute it in 5 minutes. Exactly. That sounds completely reasonable and obvious to me, but even some people on our side call this identity politics. That's the kind of BS Bernie Sanders was spewing to those podcast bros. I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah, talking, you know, there are some things that I think Bernie Sanders missed, because some of the things that, you know, by some of the things I think where he failed and failed to deal with, well, he failed two ways when it comes to like black voters in this country. First and foremost being the fact that he looked at the South and said the South is full of conservatives and didn't bother to campaign down here. And that's one of the main reasons why he lost, because he didn't campaign enough in the South, because he didn't follow Barack Obama's playbook on how to defeat Hillary Clinton in a primary. That being said, he also tends to look at things and not look at things from a racial perspective and just looks at it from a class perspective. And while class privilege absolutely exists, people from different classes experience different things, just like, you know, from their point of view. So you can't, as a wealthy person, understand what it's like as a poor person. Mostly. I'm sure there may very well be some wealthy people who came from poverty, and good for them for overcoming and beating the odds. That being said, one of the main problems, you know, that I think Bernie Sanders had, and sometimes the people who want to make it only about class ignore the racial issues that perpetuate the class differences amongst minorities, amongst marginalized and oppressed people. Let's go back down to what I've missed on here. So let's answer some of these questions or comments, because I'm sure we went back a little bit. Let's see. Alan Drifter, yeah, I had a coworker tried to pass off anti-trans BS at work the other day. Told him to show me one shred of evidence that's reliable. Per his point, he searched for a half hour and he didn't find anything, right? Let's see. Exactly. If someone can't win the black vote, they're not winning the Democratic primary, and they're not winning the general as a Democrat. The TYT idea that there are all of these closet socialists and MAGA who will vote for a Dem if they focus only on class, it's a bunch of malarkey. It is malarkey, because they won't vote for somebody who's a Democrat who spouts these things. Now, we've seen on this show several times already examples of conservatives claiming to be out there supporting socialist ideas. I mean, Donald Trump telling businesses that they shouldn't be able to charge more for their products because of the tariffs is an example of government literally running a business. That is socialism. Or some offshoots of it are conservative-wise as fascism, but still. You know, the populace seizing the means of production. I've actually seen conservatives type that we would be in a much better place if we took back the corporations and brought them for the people. I'm like, hello, comrade, where are you? Where have you been? And why do you not understand that you right now are espousing socialist ideas? Yeah, I don't trust them either. Exactly. Let's scroll back up on the YouTube chat a bit. Let's see. Andrew Wilson tells these modern women that they don't deserve chivalry at whatever. Exactly. Impeccable living. I'm going to have one more drink before I start my next one. Have one for me too, right? As I keep scrolling back, I just think of that as fascism. He's trying to be a strongman dictator who doesn't want to concede that tariffs especially failed. What's the thing? I don't know if you saw the beginning of the show. I don't know if you saw the middle of the show, but in the middle of the show, we were talking, and I'll have this video uploaded after the show, so you don't have to go searching back for it. Assuming I get this all done right and get all the clips up. I'm way behind on uploading clips that I recorded during the show. Eventually I'll get there, hopefully. But I don't think his tariffs failed. His tariffs harm people, but I believe that the purpose of his tariffs are specifically to manipulate the stock market so that all the wealthy cronies can buy the dips. So, anyway, so AI spits out cookie cutter rock and roll. Yeah. Is the right developing artificial ignorance? They have the natural stuff in droves. Exactly. I am gagged by the fact that poop goes up your butt from the toilet in Australia. What? What? I just think that it goes the other way around the toilet in Australia. Yes, this guy is a creep. Exactly. Yes, it is, Dan. I'm old. I know, 70 years ago. And you know that people had premarital sex. Is that what you're saying? Has he ever heard of Rome or Greece? You know, orgies? No, they don't care about facts. They'll claim to want to support objective reality, but in reality, the facts are not facts that they support. It's just their feelings that they support, that they believe are facts, but they're often wrong. Let's see. Scrolling down a bit. If I close my eyes, she's somehow... what? Alan Drifter... we already dealt with that one. Putting down my counselor hat. Listen to your auntie Triva. Wait, I'm more like your auntie's friend who never married and never had children. What was I going to say now? Poof, it's gone. Nice. Jeff says, Steve's son, don't give warning when he launches on crowd. One time I said I'm not sure they caught him. Daughter said he heard a thump. Hilarious. Yeah, stage diving for the win or for the loss at that point. See, Alan Drifter, while I agree that all humans should be able to, I also agree that credit cards are scams. Well, yes. I would love to be able to not have to use a credit card. Unfortunately, we're moving into a situation where sometimes you have to. One of the ways that credit cards are scams is I figured this one out a long time ago. You have a credit card, they decide that you haven't used your credit card enough, so they're going to either cancel your credit card or lower your available credit. Once they do that, your debt to your overall debt to your overall available credit ratio then increases because you have more debt compared to your overall available debt, which makes your credit score go down, which makes them have to then change your rates because now you have a lower credit score, you don't qualify for good credit. So they're manufacturing a system where they can determine what your debt to overall available credit is, and as such punish you for the decisions that they make. Your credit score could go down for nothing. You could do nothing, and your credit score will go down simply because the credit card decides, oh, you haven't used your credit card enough, we're going to close it. So, let's see. Concerning Monkey, so is this a competition on who's doing it wrong consistently? I win hands down. I once tripped up a world-famous DJ at a rave, and he called me out. Clumsy tripped over my feet while sprawled. Hilarious. Texas, David and Graham Perry, where are they? Let me add them, those gold diggers. Let me add them. Put them up. And not every woman gets married either. Not everyone wants to marry a man either. Some women would actually like to be, married to women. How do they get credit cards? Again, they don't care about that. See, I shouldn't have access to credit cards. I'm horrible with money. Me too, bruh. Me too. See, this is when a woman couldn't buy without man's approval. Exactly. Didn't Jews let their women have freedom first? Equality? In many cases. I mean, you still have conservative and ultra-Orthodox synagogues where the women still have to sit on the other side, on a separate side. Women can't be rabbis, all that other stuff. But if a woman is not sexually pleased by her partner and he refuses to give her a kid, that is actually grounds for a woman to get a divorce, or actually a get is what a Hebrew divorce is. So get a get is what you would say by using the Hebrew word for divorce. But so if in Judaism, if you don't sexually satisfy your wife, you can get divorced. And but I think there's also rules that if the brother then has to marry you, if the guy's a brother, he has to offer to marry you, and if he doesn't offer to marry the woman who's leaving the inept sexually brother, she can then spit on his shoes or something. I don't know. It's been a while since I've studied that part of the Torah or Jewish law or whatever. Let's see. Oh my gay God, how can I replace my blood with this wine? Drink a lot of it? No. Liberal Dan does not approve or does not endorse alcohol poisoning. Let's see. Sooner Monkey having some tenants up here, mate. Cutting $600 billion from Medicare, unacceptable. Exactly. But they're going to say it's cutting fraud, waste, and abuse while having a military parade for Herr Donald. See, my mind, 13th floor elevators. Let's see. My regular emojis went away. Where did they go? I don't know. Sometimes that happens when I hit the wrong button. And I hit the wrong emoji button. See, my wife buys me beer and calls it man flowers. I'd rather rum, but still. Or cider. Buy me cider. LiberalDan.com. Click the Buy Me Cider button. Support the show. Support the show with Venmo Liberal Dan. Remember to like, share, subscribe. All that good stuff. The old tenants, so they did drop alcohol content like Special Brew did. I'm drinking 9% Polish beer called Karpacki. It's the new tenant super. And whiskeys and Pepsi because F Coke. See, stupidity, RE Jesus, stupidity, RE reality. Y'all grow a spine now. Exactly. Impeccable living. I have this annoying problem I've been dealing with for quite some time. Tops on Grindr only seem to hit me up looking for now. When I tell them I need to clean himself, they get impatient with me. Oh no. Or I should say, oh my. Oh my, indeed. I challenge you to make any kind of speech, let alone fighting talk after 4 cans of Karpacki. It's not the beer that makes the violent people violent. Let's see. I only want the nasty, rotted, oily, guzzled scuss butt. Hilarious. This should be stuff that should be on Liberal Dan Radio After Dark if I ever do make that channel. I was actually thinking of maybe doing Liberal Dan Radio After Dark, like on the Patreon, but I'm not there yet. I don't have. Let me deal with all of this stuff pertaining to my mother-in-law's house first before I even worry about changing up my schedule or adding things. Although there is conversations, I am having internal conversations and also conversations with the mods and getting their opinions on it over either reducing or temporarily stopping the Nerdy Dan stuff. Maybe doing Nerdy Dan once a month, maybe doing it every other week, and then every other week adding another episode of Liberal Dan Radio because we need to handle more stuff. And maybe that'll kickstart the algorithm stuff and get more people watching the show because we're struggling here at about 1,200 folks who are subscribed to the channel here on YouTube. And I would like to see that up to like maybe 3,000 to 5,000 by the end of the year. So I'm trying to figure out ways to get that done. So I don't know. So Triva, you'll read this way after it's relevant, but actually have been married and divorced over 4 times, left with clothes on my back. And that's unfortunate that, I mean, sometimes you have to get out and you have to leave, and you have to leave with just the clothes on your back. But that's what these guys want. That's what, coming back to the topic of the video, these guys want it to be harder for women to leave because, again, they view women as property and not as partners. That's why I need to find a word that I could use, because sometimes I'll say partners inadvertently and I'll be like, no, they're not partners. Calling them partners doesn't work. I like to try and use partners generically, because even with my own wife, like I'll say spouse instead of wife, or I'll say partner sometimes or whatever, simply because of the fact that I think we should all normalize talking about your partners that way, is to enable people who are trans or who may be in LGBT, anybody who's LGBTQA plus in reality, to be able to talk about their partners in a way that's gender non-specific, so that you can include everybody in the conversations. Of course, that'll make conservatives panties all wad up in a bunch, but I don't give a crap about that. To Steve, never married, no kids, 50 plus, no gray hair, skinny AF. I think there's a connection between those. Maybe it's just because. If it's no Scottish, it's crap. But you never know. I was always, hey Treva, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. But yeah, I don't know. I guess probably got maybe more of the gray hair from my kids. I don't know. We'll see about that. Chattel. Yeah, maybe that's a good way to refer to it. Chattel. See, atrocious at every game. There's a clip from this podcast, I don't think it's included, Andrew, where someone on the panel argued that women should endure when being abused by their husband. Divorce to that guy just doesn't exist. I'm fairly sure Brian didn't push back on it at all. I'm sure he didn't. I'm sure he didn't, because that would make at least half of his audience, as a conservative estimate, to be upset at him. They're not gonna say anything to upset their incel basement dweller base. Let's see. The waste, fraud, abuse is just gaslighting. Anything Elon doesn't understand. No, it's a Kircher glass. It's woke is wasteful. Helps those people. It's likewise wasteful because eugenics. Nazi salute tells us everything we need to know. Exactly. Pam, my brother has a kid and gray hair. I have no kids and only a little gray hair. Could be correlation though, not causation, right? Although, I think my wife tried to say something to me, but I didn't hear it. Maybe if she's hearing me, maybe she should message me if she wants to make the point. Or she could call into the show if she wants to talk to me on the show and say something. 562 LibDan1 to 562 542 3261 is the number. It is open. We are ready for calls if you want to call in. There you go. Let's see. Impeccable Living Moonshine. I made some 160 proof. Just wanted to see what it'd be like in a Bloody Mary. I was looking down the hall of my room. Nope, not going to happen. I need to drink with Jeff one day. I definitely need to have a few drinks with Jeff around Uranus. Let's see. I have white hair in my custard in my omelet. I only turned 50 this year. I turn 50 next year. So, let's see. Anything else I'm missing from the chat while we're waiting for anybody to call in? Again, 562-542-3261. If you want to talk about liberal dandruff or anything else, please go right ahead. Again, shouts out for Big Hook for the joke. That was great. I'm head and shoulders above the rest, right? Let's see. Oh, she just says, I'm picking on you. That's what she messaged me. And, you know, you only pick on the ones you love, right? And my wife loves me a lot. So, let's see. I didn't want to make it weird. I put root beer powder in with sugars, too. I don't know what that is. Is that root beer powder that goes into your moonshine are you making? You're welcome, Vicky. Let's see. Big Hook. I'm overweight, but most people guess wrong on my age. Most people guess 40. He's 58. Never indulged in cigs or alcohol that much, so I'm a perfect organ donor. I'd say Impeccable Living is also an organ donor, but I think he typically receives organs instead of donates them. Pam Matthews, I'm 66. My brother is 64. Will you still need me? Will you still need me when I'm 64? I have a dirty parody of that too, but I'm not singing that on the show. Maybe I'll do it one day if we do Liberal Dan Radio After Dark. It is a naughty parody. Just to let you know, it's when we 69 instead of when I'm 64. Who wants my rant? We always want your rant, Big Hook. You are free to call in. Maybe you will prime the pump and encourage other people to call in after you. And Impeccable Living, you are 100% correct. I am glad to be 100% correct. Triva, I'm naturally blonde. I don't show gray hair. I have lots to say calling in, but I don't have the privacy needed for what I have to say. Oh, you don't have the privacy in your own house. I was like, why don't you have the privacy? And they're like, oh, people around you. You don't want them. I mean, sneak off, go to the backyard or something. Be like, these mother... And Trucker John is a member for 7 months. Thank you, Trucker John, for being a liberal danimal. Everybody should also go be a bad mother trucker over on Trucker John's page. We also need to make sure that Trucker John gets monetized on Twitch. I know I said that we want to help with that. Maybe that should be one of our June projects, to watch Trucker John on Twitch, to give him the follows that he needs. Of course, you should also need to go follow him because he needs to get up to 50 followers over on Twitch as well. So please make sure to mods, if you can, share the Twitch links as well as the YouTube link for Trucker John to make sure that people can go subscribe and or follow as needed. But again, thank you, Trucker John, for being a liberal danimal for 7 months. Atrocious, I'm too shy to call in, to be honest. Maybe one of these days. I don't bite unless you want me to. Anyway. For some reason, I always get this message on here from Google Voice that it says I might not receive calls, I might not be able to get notifications of calls, but it's never been a problem. I always get the notifications. Now I have my desktop audio muted so that nobody has to hear the ringing. But, we got 3 minutes left of my goals. The goal ends in 3 minutes and 5 seconds and only one teal super chat. Wow. Oh, there we go. There's Trucker John. Answer. Hit the keypad. Hit 1. Here comes Trucker John. There we go. Hey, Trucker John, what's going on?
No, I don't think you got Trucker John. I think you got me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said Trucker John. I'm Big Hook, Big Hook. I'm sorry. You are Big Hook, Big Hook. I'm just looking at Trucker John's green thing on the screen and am completely... I'm not as tired as I was last week, but I'm still maybe a little bit out of it. Anyway, so Trevis is correct. Not outside bugs will carry me away. You don't want bugs to carry you away. Maybe bugs should carry away other people, like Joni Ernst or Donald Trump, or they should be the ones 86ing them, right? Anyway, what you got, Trucker? Why am I saying Trucker John? What you got, Big Hook?
I'm starting to think that Head and Shoulders wasn't quite the right comment today.
Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just flaking today.
Yeah. Well, every once in a while I come up with a good one with the right timing and whatnot, and everybody gets a kick out of it.
Yes.
Yes. So what's it like in purgatory? Is it all fire and brimstone as the Bible says, or
I live in Louisiana, so it's gonna once we hit mid-May, it's already starting to get really, really hot. So I don't know if we can tell I don't know if we'd be able to tell the difference between the temperature in hell and the temperature in New Orleans at this point. But
well, that's the Bible Belt, right? So they don't spare the belt, right? That's how it works, right? They, everything is a controversy and doesn't require much thought and is cool and unusual. So,
that's why we have the whole legislation now trying to be passed in the Louisiana legislature about chemtrails, because that's super important and really real. So,
oh, dear Lord. Dr. Mike was making a crusade now to get rid of RFK. I thought that was rather interesting. I'm not sure. Do you know Dr. Mike? He's that young Russian doctor that him and his father moved over to, and he practices in New Jersey. He's a YouTube star, but he pretty much laid out the whole case to get rid of RFK. Because he is.
We don't want the brainworm running the Department of Health, right? So.
Yeah, but I'm really worried. You guys are spiraling out of control. I mean, flashbangs in San Diego. I'm surprised that they didn't flip that SUV over on those guys. The fact that they stood in the way and refused to move so that way they couldn't leave. And I don't know what the eventual outcome was. Did they end up releasing the people that they ended up detaining?
Do we have a media that we can trust to let us know if they released them or not? Because again, I'm suspect of the media giving us correct reports when they keep screwing up everything else. I've not heard of anybody being released since, but it's possible that they may have been.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, for me, it's flashbangs now. The next step up is going to be, shooting somebody running away and claiming that, it was necessary for their own protection or whatever. This is, it's what is it? The Kent State scenario is coming into place soon, I think, at this point, because they're wearing masks, they're not showing any identification, they're in unmarked vehicles. At this point, who could blame someone for thinking it was a kidnap and ransom and shooting first and and a judge letting them off at this point, because at this point it's ridiculous. You know,
and that's an interesting point, is that you have, especially the people who are the gun nuts, who are sitting there and hate government. Imagine if they get rolled up in one of these things, and they're going to be like, I mean, why wouldn't you assume that if people who are not identifying themselves, not wearing what agency they belong to, and just it's telling you to get in the car? No, F that. I'm not going to get in the car with somebody who I don't know who it is. It's, you know, we learned that as kids a long time ago. But yeah, somebody's going to get snagged up in this, and they're going to end up shooting the cops, and then they're going to be in a dilemma. One of those, the meme where like you have to pick the red button or the blue button, and the guy's sweating over because he doesn't know which one to pick. It's like, do we support the police at this point, or do we just support the guy who hates the government? What do we do? Same, but it's the same thing that they had to deal with on January 6th as well. Because do you support the police because you're always supposed to back the blue, but they really only back the blue when the blue is attacking the black people, and they don't back the blue if the blue is attacking white people, at least white conservatives. So
yeah, but you know, I mean, this is the thing though. I mean, these guys, like I said last time, these guys are racists. You know, I'm sorry, you don't go and kidnap and ransom people just on existing. There's no grounds to hold these people. You know, it's basically a prison pipeline for the private prisons, and it's, you know, it's a monetary grift that Stephen Miller came up with, I'm sure, to you know, to play this game of hide and go seek for the maggots. It's really disgusting. I don't know where you can find any. There's no morality involved. There's no legality involved. All there is racist bigotry involved, and you know, and they're hiding behind a badge, as well as and yeah, an illegal president who doesn't believe in the Constitution or individual rights or human rights for anybody. I mean, like I said, you guys are literally in purgatory. It's you know, and it's only
with Stephen Miller, i.e. Pee Wee German. You know, he's just one of many who've just come up with such horrible ideas, like him and Kushner, both of them just pushing these eugenicist type ideas, these you know, where they just like, what was it, Kushner, who was like, let's just not deal with COVID in inner cities and let COVID do its work, you know.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I'm at this point.
Atrocious in every game. The only thing he believes is that he's above the law. Well, Pat Bondi says
no one is above the law in this country.
But the question is, you know, the history is going to have to calculate what the body count is going to be for this guy at some point. Because, I mean, what is it? I mean, he's going to, by eliminating U.S. aid, he's already guaranteed 1 million people that are going to die from that. Then the AIDS people are going to die because of that. So, I mean, we're probably upwards of 3 million people already that he has systematically killed because of this bullshit.
Yeah, you have hundreds,
you know,
you have hundreds of thousands of people who died needlessly because of COVID, because of his failure to respond to COVID properly.
Well, that's that's 1 million plus. That's 1 million plus on already on his plate. So
I typically usually use hundreds of thousands just to make sure that people can't argue with me about it. But yeah, it's probably more so over 1 million. But then, ignoring COVID, you still have all the other people who are going to probably die because you put vaccine hesitant folks in positions of power in the Department of Health, like stupid RFK Jr. So you have to, you know, so that you're going to have more people who are going to not get their kids vaccinated for things like the measles, and then we're going to have more measles cases, and especially amongst people who are not able to vaccinate because they actually do have risk that takes part from, you know, taking vaccines. So they rely on the herd immunity of everybody else getting vaccinated, and now we have people in charge who empower the anti-vaxxers to get away with all of their BS, and so more people are going to die from that too. How many people are going to die when Donald Trump tries to go raise Gaza and replace it with whatever? How many people will die? How many people are going to die from in Gaza just because of the fact that there's a near famine going on there? Simply because of the fact that aid can't get in. And now there's reports now from that it wasn't like that. There was a report initially that Israel attacked people online, and then other people said no, it actually wasn't Israel, and it could very well be Hamas attacking their own people to try and make it look like Israel because they want to vilify the Jews, and that's part of it when they do it. Now, of course, criticism of Israel is not necessarily anti-Semitism, but that being said, when people out there just want the hostages gone and they're attacked.
Yeah, but let's face it, if Israel really wanted the truth to be evident and transparent, they would allow journalists in there. But that's the thing, and they've killed lots and lots of journalists.
If you don't allow the journalists in there, then you can bomb indiscriminately, because that's what Netanyahu wants to do. Because Netanyahu would rather see more Palestinians die than have to deal with his legal problems. Because Netanyahu is a piece of shit, but we've known that Netanyahu is a piece of shit for a while now, even well before 10/7.
Yeah. There really isn't any good players left in the world for legitimate politicians. I mean, there are some, but there are the system is screwed. The UN doesn't work the way it's supposed to. We allow rogue actors to veto the crap out of everything so that humanitarian genocide can occur worldwide. Russia and China should not even be in the UN as far as I'm concerned, because they don't follow international rules or anything, and they do way more damage worldwide than actual good. I mean, like the China offered their COVID vaccination, and it turned out that vaccination was worthless.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently in Thailand they're going back to isolation again, because they've got a COVID outbreak there that is so bad that they're keeping the kids away from school now, and they're going back to masking protocols as well as other things, and stupidity on steroids seems to be the go-to move for these people. They don't believe in science. They don't believe in helping people. It's all dog eat dog world, and
as George Wendt said, George Wendt actually passed away. As George Wendt said as Norm, it's a dog eat dog world, and I'm wearing kibble underwear. So
yeah, and as I said in the comments, I think we're all undergoing PTSD. There is so much shit going on, and we have no idea how to fix it because the people that are in charge don't want to deal with it. And, the institutions are barely holding on, and some of them have already been corrupted and turned. So, outside of, we get every once in a while, we get a highlight. Like Zelensky playing Trump and Vance for fools, and then pulling off that strike there in deep in Russia, and taking out those 40 aircraft was a thing of beauty. That gives me hope.
That drone, I was impressed with the drone strike that took place. That was just like, wow. Good on them for getting that done. Billions of dollars lost to Russia, maybe hopefully making it harder for Russia to continue on what they're doing. But still,
Well,
I do have to
that's
take.
the thing,
I do have to take exception to one of the things you said, because I don't think we can call it PTSD, because PTSD would mean post, and we're dealing with it currently. It should be CTSD, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. I mean, what was it? Ojeda was saying, we live in the world's richest country, and I said, correction, the world's richest fascist oligarchy country.
Yep.
You know, because that's what it is. You know, everyone else is struggling to survive while the billionaire oligarchs and millionaires, look down upon us and refuse to pay their fair share, and they utilize the infrastructure that was, paid for by everyone else's taxes because they refuse to pay their taxes. And, they're getting a free ride.
Yep.
It's disgusting on a level that, I'm surprised that this stuff hasn't resulted in a civil war to this point, because, when you put people in desperate straits, they freak the shit out and they come up with things. I mean, I can honestly say I'm guilty of having some very dark thoughts as to solutions, but, I'm sure I'm not the only one. And
plenty of them. There's plenty of them. I make sure to say that I want things to happen via natural causes, because I don't want, anything else knocking on my door or whatever. But, yeah, I mean, there are tons of people who are having those terrible thoughts because we're dealing with terrible times and terrible people who are saying terrible things. Like, what was it? Joe Biden was saying, I mean, not Joe Biden. Donald Trump was saying some horrible crap about Joe Biden the other day. I think before he reposted that what was now is a clone of
claimed
Biden.
He was a clone.
Yeah, but before he said other stuff, and I'm just
insane.
like,
That's a 25th Amendment worthy thing to take him out, and nobody will do anything about it, and the media is ignoring it and moving on to the next bullshit distraction that he proposes. I mean, this is where it is. Americans have the shortest attention span of any country within the world.
Wait, what did you say?
Literally within 5 minutes, it's on to the next. It's on to the next bullshit conspiracy that doesn't have any, truth or, and is used to keep the racist bigots charged up and thinking that they're superior, when in fact, they don't have the IQ, they don't have the education, they don't have the finances, they've got nothing except somebody who lies to them and picks their pocket every single day. The other thing I want to...
Hold on. Before you get to that, Atrocious at Every Game says on Twitch, I remember something Andrew Gillum said to Ron DeSantis in 2018. I'm not saying Mr. DeSantis is a racist. I'm saying the racists think he's a racist. Exactly. And he says, when it comes to Tulsi Trump-Stein, one only needs to look at the Russian state media to see it's the same deal. I'm not saying that they're criminal assets, but the Kremlin sure as hell thinks that they are. Exactly. I also have been quoting Andrew Gillum a lot recently with his whole hit when he said "hit dogs holler." I'm like, because yeah, they do. But go ahead with what you're going to say.
Well, I mean, you look at DeSantis. I mean, is anything going to come of the $10 million that he pocketed into his wife's bank account? And that's Medicare fraud.
Yep. That's fraud, waste, and abuse right there, but they're not going to do anything about that because he's a Republican and he's white.
I mean, at this point, the Republicans are just professional criminals that are using the law to get away with it because they're saying, oh, well, I'm in charge, therefore I'm like Nixon. If the president does it, it can't be illegal because, the president is immune from consequences. And,
right.
The Supreme Court did the same bloody thing. And now you're, like I said, you're all stuck in a corner, and the only way to get out is to fight your way out. And you're dealing with
thank you very
stupid
much,
people.
Trevor, of a House of over on Twitch for the follow. Appreciate you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know where to go with this anymore, because the conservatives are some of the stupidest people on the planet right now. I mean, they've got, many of them have generational wealth.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that are doing well and believe in the tax cut bullshit stuff that constantly goes on, and and on top of that, they believe that because they're white, that they're superior and therefore deserve their lot in life, and that so long as they're good standing members in the good old boys club, that and the women that marry these guys are in the same thing. They just think, oh well, I have to do what my husband says, because otherwise I'll be poor.
Exactly.
It's,
they need to be good wives for when they bring back the old ways of women not being able to get credit cards and crap, because independent women are scary to them.
Yeah, well, it's Stockholm syndrome, right? I mean, that's the whole thing. It's the world does not make a whole lot of sense anymore. I don't, this is the problem. The internet came along and we all thought, oh, it's going to be a force for good.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that it became the catalyst for the greatest misinformation as well as disinformation campaign ever, done by the Chinese and the Russians, because we allow them. And there's a simple answer. The simple answer is cut them off. Don't allow China or Russia or rogue actor states access to the internet. It's not a difficult ask. There's no upside to allowing them on it. They do far more harm than good. And what's stopping this? Because that's the thing.
Musk would probably just give them access to Starlink and and kiss their asses to get that,
No, I understand that, but I understand that. But the thing is that you gotta put your foot. You got to draw that line in the sand.
Truth bomb from Alan Drifter in the chat. The internet came along because of the U.S. military. It was never going to be a force for good. That is definitely a truth bomb right there, if I ever heard one. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, but who can live without the internet today? You can't find a job without the internet.
Right.
You can't post. You can't email a resume to get a job without the internet. There's, we're almost a paperless society at this point. So I don't really see, the downside of banning these countries that refuse to play by international rules and regulation from participation.
Yeah.
True. At some point, somebody has to be the parent that says, no, go to your room, and until you behave, you don't get to play with all the other kids. It's as simple as that. I'm really dumbing it down, but
right.
But I don't see a good future with the current leadership that we have within the international community as it stands. And that's really, really disappointing. Because the information is out there.
I struggle to call it leadership, but yeah. Oh, wait. Impeccable Living thinks you have a super cute voice and wants to know if you can sing It's Not Easy Being Green.
It's not easy being green?
Yeah, because he thinks he sounds a little bit like Kermit.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
anyway.
I thought I was limited to Ave Maria because that was my go to with her because she was like, she bet me that I wouldn't do it. So, I don't know. I sound like Kermit. That's a new one. I have never heard that one before.
I can hear it a little bit. There's a little bit of the Kermity in there. I could hear it, but I can see it at least. But
It is what it is.
Well, the question I have is a civil war the only answer to everything that's currently going on? Because at this point, I don't see how else you can do it. Because at this point, all the assets are in the hands of the fascist oligarchs that are currently running the country at the moment. The leadership is there. The politicians are bought. The judiciary is largely bought. I mean, you have a system that is good on paper and had all these, safety mechanisms that have been overcome by the oligarchy. And now the question is how do you start on a fresh page? And my fear is that...
I mean, I don't know how well. I mean, the problem with the Civil War, and I'm not saying that I'm necessarily opposed to it, but the problem with the Civil War is you would have to get leftists and progressives and liberals and actual country-loving, centrist and Republicans, not the MAGA folks, but the ones who actually oppose Trump. You'd have to get them all to work together, and I don't necessarily have faith that can happen because too many times we spend time on the left attacking each other and not attacking the current big problem in the room. That being said,
well, that's the thing.
Perhaps a benevolent military coup to topple the dictatorship might be needed, but again, I don't necessarily have faith in that we would have enough people in the military who would be willing to support such a benevolent military coup.
Yeah, but like I said before, the problem is that you guys have lost the truth doctrine within the media. I mean, the fact that military bases have Fox News, OAN, and Newsmax on their TVs on base is the problem. And you have active KKK white supremacist recruiting going on within the military through the officer corps and whatnot. I mean, you've got, Russian moles everywhere. So, where do you go with it? So, but I don't know. I sound like a pessimistic bastard and, yet I want what's best for you guys.
It's hard to be optimistic. It's very hard to be optimistic. I mean, when you have a president that says, when talking about Joe Biden, if you feel sorry for him, don't feel so sorry because he's vicious. I really don't feel sorry for him, i.e. Joe Biden, which caused me to basically say, I wish everything that he says and does will come back on him tenfold because, I mean, he's just a scumbag. But the people who support him like this, they view that as a feature and not a bug.
Well, let's face it. You guys have elections, which is supposed to be the substitute for civil war. And question is now, has your election systems been compromised the same way it is in Russia?
And then he's worried about election security, and he wants to move to paper ballots. And my concern with purely paper ballots with no computers behind them is that what's to stop them from just throwing away the votes that they don't want to have counted? What's to stop that?
Well, that's just it. And, and the same thing. The tabulators is where they think they've isolated where the corruption possibly happened because you can it's maybe the voting machines will affirm that yes, your vote was counted and whatnot, but it's who counts the votes. It's not necessarily where you voted. So
exactly. Yep.
Well, anyway, I've said my piece. I got to go back to work here and do my thing, and so as always, it's a pleasure to talk with you. And yes, indeed, Dan, you are head and shoulders above the rest.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you, man. Have a good one. Have a good night.
You too. Take care.
All right. Bye. All right. You too can call in to Liberal Dan Radio, 562-542-3261, 562-LibDan1. Thank you, Stephen Sayers, for becoming a new Liberal Danimal over here on YouTube. Thank you so much. Let's see. Impeccable Living. Our collective IQ has been compromised. Unfortunately, that is the case. Too much stupidity has flooded the zone, so to speak. Let's see. I do want to again thank Trevor of the House of Belmont for coming in. Basically, said in an actual liberal online, we only ever see fascists or leftists. I do consider myself to be on the progressive left, but I also call myself a pragmatic progressive in that, I'm not willing to let the perfect be the enemy of the good. I'm not willing to just sit here and say, well, if we can't have everything, we're going to have nothing. We can't make exceptions on issues like equality or whatever, but we also have to make sure that we don't lose while trying to gain. So that's one of the problems that I often will butt heads with folks who are fellow progressive left type folks, is that some of them are not as willing to be pragmatic about certain things. Like I like, for example, I just lost my train of thought because somebody did an Alexa and I forgot to turn it off in the room. Let's see. Well, there you go. That's pretty rare. I mean, I like to think of myself as pretty rare, but unfortunately, a lot of times, especially when I ran for office in 2004 for Congress, I was like, either everybody should love me because of the fact that I'll find common ground with other folks, and I'll be able to make sure to build a wide, broad coalition of people that where I can take the time and have the conversation and speak with everybody, or everybody's going to hate me because I don't agree with him enough. And I'm worried, maybe sometimes with the podcast, that maybe that's the case. Maybe that's why I don't have as many followers and subscribers or whatever on YouTube and over here on Twitch is because of the fact that I do come from outside the box, and therefore sometimes I don't, get the broader appeal that maybe one would hope that I would, even though I am willing. And if someone asked I forget who asked this question in the Twitch chat, but they asked, do I ever have conservatives call into the show? I have had conservatives call into the show before. Gibson Media being one of them. We talked to him a few times, whatever, until, things happened. I've had other people call into the show. Bringing It Boy was a caller who called in from California, who sometimes has been in the chat here on YouTube, but he was one of my initial Blog Talk Radio listeners, and he would call in. I had Manasseh from up in, I think I'm correct in saying Minnesota, or I think it's Minnesota that Manasseh is from. He's called in a couple times. Of course, I had a big response to him. I haven't heard back from Manasseh since, but there are people who listen to the show who do call in, who I will more than happy to debate. I would love to be able to have some more debates. I mean, that's what some of the people like Tommy, my dude, will get people on live, and we'll have conversations with them to try and debunk all of the stuff that they're saying. And I think I'd be good at it as well, but for some reason we don't have the calls coming in. So let's see. Atrocious at every game. If someone calls themselves progressive but then enables fascism at the ballot box, they're not fucking progressive, in my opinion. That's absolutely true. I agree with you. You can't sit here, just like, you can't sit here and claim to be a supporter of, human rights, equal rights, etc., while supporting Donald Trump. You can't sit here and claim to be pro-life while agreeing with the deportation of a 4-year-old kid who was here legally, who needs the medical treatment that she was getting in order to not die in a few days. See, claims of voter shaming are the hallmark of why I left the left grift. I don't shame anyone, but I sure as hell am going to criticize their both sides BS, and the fact that they don't understand that it's not always about them. We we vote not to feel good about ourselves, but our communities, our neighbors, our families, future generations. Well, the problem also is that, it's the whole Republicans fall in line, Democrats fall in love. So if you're on the left, you don't feel necessarily the need to, quote, fall in line to make sure that the horrible people like Trump don't get into office. Where Republicans will be like, I will get in line, I will vote for whoever it is you want me to vote for. Just tell me who to vote for, and I'll flip the switch. And that's what they say, and that's what happens, and that's why you get Donald Trumps, because people are unwilling to waver from their support of the fascist wannabe dictator. See, I hate that the GOP has hijacked the label pro-life. They're not pro-life. You can't be pro-life while gutting medical care, school lunch, etc. Oh, we have another call. That looks like the call's coming in from New Orleans. Hey, what's up? It's
Press 1 to send a voicemail.
It is Alan Drifter, one of the first Liberal Dan patrons over here. Thank you very much for calling. What's going on, man?
I think I am the first patron, or at least very close to it.
I think you might have been second. I think Demonox might have been first, but you were one of the first, so definitely. And I appreciate your support.
Damn it, Variety's always beat me and shit. All right, well, first off, I'd like to start this call by stating you're going to have to excuse me a little bit because I don't know what the hell antihistamines, that's what it. I am high right now on cold medicine.
All right.
So,
fair enough.
But it pretty much boils down. I know I've had this discussion with you and everybody else in the other group chat, but my stance on this is optimistic and pessimistic at the same time. On the one hand, fascist regime. Say it for me, please. I can't talk right now.
Fascist regimes.
Thank you very fucking much.
You're welcome.
Normally end in blood.
Mm-hmm.
And part of me thinks that's how this is going to end too.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, look at the people in power. Look at the state they're in. I mean, look at Trump practically running into a wall. He's sunned down and like fucking crazy. Look at the other old fucks they got running the show over. Honestly, I'm starting to think all we got to do is wait them out. These people are about to drop on their own. Let me talk to you when I'm not buzzed on whatever the fuck I took. But you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
These
absolutely.
people, the vast majority of the people in power on that side are just old and decrepit and honestly being held together with bubble gum and duct tape.
Maybe a little Bengay.
In some cases, I'd say literally.
Yeah. I mean, one can hope. I mean, I keep hoping for natural causes, right? So natural causes can't come soon enough.
At this point, I don't think there's anything natural about these people. You know, Nosferatu probably looks better than half of these people. I'm talking about the old movie one.
True.
250 I'm not even waiting
hold on.
for natural causes. I'm waiting for unnatural causes.
250 kiloohms says if you don't have TDS, there's something wrong with you. Hal Sparks quote or whatever. Although I say that the only derangement when it comes to Trump is the people who still support him. That's the current Trump derangement syndrome. If you still support Donald Trump after all the bullshit he's done, you are clearly deranged. So
I see somebody asking how much cold medicine.
Yeah.
Medicine does not work very well on me. I literally have to take half a bottle of NyQuil for it to have any effect. My brother was the same way.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
that's
yeah.
Although, you know, and even with NyQuil, normally, especially the green stuff, like I'm convinced that the only reason that the green NyQuil works is not because, you know, of the medicine in it. It's because it tastes so freaking bad that your body's like, okay, I give up. I won't be sick anymore. So
I grew up on my mother's cooking. I don't have taste buds anymore. Don't ask me how my cooking is so good. I love the woman to death, but she should have stayed out of the kitchen.
Somebody asked in chat, TDS or STD? I never really put the fact
Yeah.
together that those are the same initials. But yeah, that's probably one and the same. I'm sure the people who still support Trump may very well have several of those STIs or STDs or whatever.
What was that old line from that one comedy skit back in the day? California hot tub rectal gonorrhea. Don't ask me how I remember this stuff when I can't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday.
But see, if you say that too loud around your phone's then going to give you ads for medicine to treat that condition. And I know that because I know that because
gives me ads for all kind of shit anyway.
Yeah, that's true. I know this because when my wife's uncle was talking about flesh-eating genital bacteria one day at Christmas dinner or something, maybe it was Thanksgiving, I don't know, but 3 days later, my phone started showing me ads for the medicine to treat such a thing. I'm like, really, Snoopy phone? Why are you being that terrible? So why are you being so Snoopy?
Bruh, about 2 months ago, I was sitting there thinking to myself, I think it's time for a new toaster because mine is crapped out, and I started getting toaster ads. I wasn't even saying anything. It's just it reads your goddamn mind now.
Hey, look, I've had that happen too, where I literally was thinking of I was either thinking of something and I got an ad for it, or I was thinking of something and like I log in and I see a post about it and I'm like, what is going on here? I mean, maybe we are in the Matrix, I don't know, but I don't like. There's been, at least it's a little bit better from the standpoint of people who are advertising, simply because of the fact that it used to be like I would when we went to Disney World, I would go to Disney World, I'd get the hotel room or the timeshare, I'd buy the tickets, I'd set up all the fast passes and all of the dining reservations, and that's when the internet would start giving me ads for Disney. I'm like, I don't need this anymore. Why would I waste money buying ads? I've already bought everything I need to buy for this trip. There's nothing else I need. Now, if it was like smart and been like, hey, here's something else you might not have bought or might not have got yet, and here's a deal on this thing you might need, then maybe sure, it'd be smart. But there are some of these things that are just like completely dumb as to why we get them, and I don't know why. So, but I'm with you when it comes to like the cold medicine stuff. Like, I'm the same way, but with edibles. Like, there are people who own the cider place that I get the cider from at Broad Street Cider down here in New Orleans, who they're fine taking a 5 milligram dose of an edible. 5 milligrams ain't do crap to my fat ass. I need more. I need more to help me with my pain, help me sleep, etc. I need more. So
months ago when I was still taking care of Pop before he passed away in January, he had his edibles he had me run and get all the time.
Right.
He had this big dish of candy in his room that normally I'd walk in and while I was chatting with him, I'd pop a couple of cans. He didn't tell me he put a couple of his edibles in there. These were like 50, whatever they were.
Ooh.
So they were strong. And I popped one of those things. And I don't really remember much of the rest of the day, but I do remember Pop telling me the next day that I was hilarious high as a kite.
But did you go
I don't know
on
what
Mitch
I
McConnell?
did, and I kind of don't want to know.
Did you go on Mitch McConnell? Because when I had a dose that I think had way too much in it for it to be the 30 milligrams that was in that gummy that I had taken, and I full on went like complete blank stare, eyes open, they were snapping in front of my eyes, and I was not reacting. I was still standing because I was still breathing, so that was good. But yeah, like, that was a freaky thing with the whole whiteout that happened with that. But normally,
No, that sounds like me on Ritalin. No, but I do know in the past when I get really, really high or really, really drunk, I would code really stupid computer viruses to mess with my friends. And sometimes it wasn't even viruses. Like one of my friends, I got drunk off my ass, and he was a homophobe, so I set it up that every time he tried to go online for the next 3 days, his computer automatically redirected to a gay porn website.
Not all heroes wear capes, but maybe we should get you one anyway.
I think I have one somewhere.
Maybe you need a second, I don't know.
I wouldn't turn it down. I'll be
Fair enough.
completely honest with you. I have no idea why the hell I called. I just felt like calling.
I appreciate it. I wish more people would just call to call. So since you've supported the show since day one, or since day one of the Patreon at least, glad to have you. We need to form Voltron one more time. So
This person's asking who's friends with a homophobe. I used to be. I no longer am. And I just told you how I stopped being friends with them.
All right. Well, it looks like Jeff Curry wants to call in for a second. Jeff Curry, the number is 562-LIB-DAN1, 562-542-3260. 32? Is it 3261? Whatever 562-LIB-DAN1 is. It's not showing up right now on the screen. So anyway, but thank you so much for calling in. Appreciate you as always. And you have anything else before we get off? And then I guess Jeff can call in.
No, I'll get off the phone and stop rambling in my high state and let somebody who actually has something to say talk.
Fair enough. You have a good one, man. Call back again.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye. All right. That was your boy Chris, who called in at 562-542-3261 is the phone number to call in. Let's see. Impeccable Living. It's the one fecking thing we haven't adopted from the U.S. that pisses me off. Legalize the bud. And even here, we haven't completely legalized it. It's a state-by-state basis. I was shook when Louisiana was like, let's do it. I'm like, what? I thought we would be the last, because we're usually the last on everything that's good and the first on everything that's bad. But, hell, we still have 2 inmates that haven't been caught yet. People from the OPP, Orleans Parish Prison. 10 of them escaped. 2 of them are still at large. And the thing that just cracks me up about the whole thing is that the person, one of the 2 who's still at large, has like these face tattoos that would be clearly recognizable. Maybe the people see the face tattoos and be like, oh, there's the guy, I don't want to mess with him. So maybe that's how he's getting away with it. Or maybe he was actually one of the smart ones and said, I'm not going to go to the chicken place on Manhattan Boulevard on the west bank of Jefferson Parish of Louisiana. Or I'm not going to just go to Slidell. I'm not going to go to my family's house in New Orleans East. Maybe he was smart and was like, I'm going to go to, I don't know, Kansas might not be smart, but because Kansas, he might stick out like a sore thumb there. I want to go to California. I'm going to go to New York. I'm going to go to a big population city where I could just hide amongst everybody else and no one will catch me. Maybe that's what they did. If I were the people looking for those folks, I would check New York. I would check LA. I would check maybe Miami. Even Dallas, maybe even, I think Houston might be too close. Houston, I think, still might be too close. But these people, that they still haven't caught these 2, and the one of them has all the face tattoos, is just makes me laugh. See, I'm actually said, "Oh, Michael Jackson, I understand now." Let's see. I never used pot in my life. But I voted to legalize it in Massachusetts. One of the only decent things to come out of that god awful election. Nice. See, right after Dan, I'm going to upload a short video if everyone's interested. Of course we're interested. Trucker John uploaded. Actually, if you uploaded it now, I don't know, can you upload it now while you're watching on the phone, while you're still watching? I mean, I don't know if you could do both if you're watching on the phone, but see, if you did it, if you uploaded it and then sent me the link and via email, I could always just post the link here, then people can watch it immediately during the show. Anyway, so let's see. We're talking about colonoscopies and propofol. Yeah. Ooh. Poor MJ, right? Or maybe not poor MJ. Today in Culture, I saw that article about what you did, man. Pretty disappointing to read. I know, I'm a terrible person. What? I don't know. There is something that somebody did that was interesting. Coast Guard vet, a woman who was a veteran of the Coast Guard, lured her accused rapist into the woods, executed him, and then went to go get a tattoo. I mean, you gotta have priorities in life, right? My question is, what was he wearing to justify the crime against him? Right? Was he wearing something? How was it he at fault? Oh, wait, that's something we only do to women. When women say, like, I was assaulted, then we'd be like, well, what were you wearing? What were you doing? What did you look like? But Home Dude's not getting any of that, at least from the media. He might be getting that from the people who are commenting on a lot of these posts. The comment I made, I think that made my wife laugh the most, was like, you know, she went and got a tattoo. I heard it was a killer tattoo. Sorry. Damn it. Let me repeat that again. She went and got a tattoo. I heard it was a killer tattoo. There we go. Killer joke, but I didn't hear. I had my volume off because I didn't want people to hear the phone ring and the phone hanging up. So you didn't get to hear the sound. So you had to hear my joke again. Sorry. Yes, 562 LibDan1 562-542-3261. Trevor's like ... I appreciate the fact that you you know, might not appreciate all the humor that comes with the show, although you will get to hear the at the end of the show, you will get to hear the parody that another radio show made about me specifically, because I criticized his use of AI and how terrible his parodies were. So he went ahead and his answer was to make another shitty parody about me. And it actually may very well be the best parody that he's made of all the horrible ones that he's made, but probably because he mentions my name. And, you know, or mentions Liberal Dandruff or whatever. So, Jeff, are you calling in? If you're not calling in, I'm not going to, I might be ending the show more sooner than I thought. But if you are going to call in, call in. Again, 562-542-3261, 562-LibDan1, and not 867-5309. 8675309. Anyway, I got it. Would sooner be more better? Yes, more sooner would be more better. Exactly. Trevor, tomatoes, get your tomatoes here. There was once a fail in seeds that I saw at I think it was at Walmart, because you had Lightning McQueen themed seeds, and they were the tomatoes, and then you had like some like snap peas or something, or green beans, and that was for Mater. Like, why the hell wouldn't you make Mater the tow truck, i.e. tow Mater, into the tomato pack? I understand Lightning McQueen is red, but still, if you're theming things on Disney, know your audience. Of course, Disney doesn't necessarily know its audience because it spells Imagineers E-E-R-S instead of E-A-R-S. And, well, you know, you have Mickey Mouse with giant ears as your mascot. Why wouldn't you use E-A-R-S for everything? They do it for some things, but why not do it for everything? Right? So, it's the Impeccable Living. I just assume you straight guys would talk about bocce ball or something else like that. Wait, what? Dean, don't be a taco. Well, it wouldn't be taco, right? It would be a Jocko, J-A-C-O, if he was chickening out. It wouldn't be a taco because his name's not T. It doesn't start with a T, right? So there you go. Yeah, I'm Big Hook, not Trucker John. Yes, thank you, Big Hook. God damn it. God. Wait, did you say Jocko after I said Jocko, or did you say Jocko not hearing me say Jocko first? Jeff, trying to call. You should be able to. 562-542-3261, 562-LibDan1. Bocce is a good family game. Isn't there Bocce Station? No, that's Tashi Station for Star Wars. I was going to go to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters. Of course, Robot Chicken had a great episode because he went to Tashi Station, found the power converters, and the power converters were like strippers. I'm like, now I understand why he was so antsy and anxious to go see the power converters. Was it? I think Bocce was also the name of the language that Lars Baru, or Owen and Baru Lars, or Owen Lars asked C-3PO if he could speak Bocce, because it's one of the 6 million languages that C-3PO could speak. So, what kind of voice, Jeff? Bass? All about that bass? No treble? Because I'm all about that bass, no treble, all about that bass. Oh wait, I don't want to get copyrighted. I'm sure my horrible version of that is not whatever. I should go ahead and play this for you. Let's open up this.
Oh, the way Glenn Miller played. Song to make a hit parade. Guys like us, we had it made. Those were the days.
Anyway, if you don't know what that is, that's me singing Edith's part of the All in the Family theme. I think it was going to get too loud when I started to do the "And you knew who you were then," but doing it as Edith, which is loud. I don't want to hurt your eardrums. Anyway, Jeff, you got a couple more minutes to call in. No, there's another version of it with my cousin Bill. If you watch wrestling, Bill Apter is somebody who's very well known in wrestling circles. He's been on like several things for WWE television, some of the specials that he's had, and he's been like involved in wrestling for years. Like if you know about the Jerry the King Lawler, Andy Kaufman drama that took place or whatever, or not necessarily drama because it was all scripted or whatever. If you knew about that, he was the one responsible for all that to happen. And if he wrote a book, Wrestling is Fixed, I didn't know it was broken. It's a very good book. It talks about his life or whatever. But he's one of my favorite cousins, and he came down here that was at one of my dad's, I think it was a dad's party or something. I went up to Baltimore in 2013, that was when I did that. And then of course there's another one that I did more recently when WrestleMania was last here in New Orleans. And he came down to visit, and I went to go see his little one-man show that was put on. And then he wanted to know if anybody could do a Macho Man Randy Savage voice, and I was like, ooh yeah. And then he got me up there to do it, and then I was saying, well, the reason I asked that because I knew you would do the Macho Man voice, and I want to do this. And then he started with the way Glenn Miller played songs that made the hit parade. Anyway, so it's always a hit at my family events when me and Bill get together and sing the All in the Family theme song. Let's see. It keeps saying no connection. Did you pay your bill? Did you pay your cell phone bill, Jeff? Or are you just in a bad whatchamacallit? Are you in a bad cell? You're killing me. Why with the Edith? I mean, have you not heard my other impressions? I mean, I may not do some impressions well, but I do other impressions really well. Like, remember when they had like the live All in the Family show, and Marissa Tomei was playing the part of the Edith, and I think I was driving Uber that day, and one of the things that I posted while I took a break between rides was I haven't been able to watch the All in the Family special yet, but from what I've heard, apparently I do a better Edith Bunker or Gene Stapleton impression than whatchamacallit, than Marissa Tomei does. And some people are like, what, you do an Edith one? And then I shared the video of that, and they were like, I never really knew. And then there's, of course, I got second place on a karaoke contest on a cruise ship by singing What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong, using my impression of Louis Armstrong. But usually the video of that I share is that's the one that I shared, the one I got second place. Even though I won the next cruise, I think the recording of that first one was much better, especially because the audience reaction of that, and that's posted on nerdydan.com, youtube.com/nerdydan, DOTCOM. So youtube.com/nerdydan.com is my gaming channel and other pop culture stuff, and it's part of the whole Liberal Dan Radio project, but I just put most of my gaming and nerdy stuff there. But if you go to that channel and you go find my imitation of Louis Armstrong from karaoke, the audience reaction was, and I was waiting for the audience reaction because this particular audience was so fun and so good that I was just sitting there waiting for them to A, not be ready for what was going to happen, and B, when it happened, to get the cheer. And I was like, It's an awesome feeling. It's probably something I won't hear much, as opposed to other people, but that I got to experience that instant cheer. Even the karaoke, the guy running the competition, the KJ, was sitting there, and he was just kind of like looking at me, just kind of like, what's he thinking? What is he gonna do? And then I started singing, and he just started clapping, and couldn't believe that was coming out of my mouth. So we got Big Hook again. Hold on. We have Big Hook, and I said the name right this time. What's going on? What you got?
Just phoning in to see. One of our flock is kind of in desperate straits there. Not sure if you were reading the chat earlier. Susie apparently got her debit card hacked and is apparently in dire straits. I was just wondering, is there any way that we can do some sort of a collection for her and perhaps wire her some money via Western Union or something? Because
I would be more than happy to do that. I would be more than happy to facilitate that. I mean, there's, I don't know if GoFundMe is fast enough or not. If someone were to create a GoFundMe, but more than happy to do that. But if either that, so you said it was Suzanne that it happened to?
Susie Jones.
Susie Jones. Okay.
Yeah, she's the one that I think she's in a wheelchair, and this is just abject cruelty on a level that is disgusting to the lowest bounds. I mean, these are the people you do not prey on. They have no means of defending themselves, and this upsets me a lot, because this is the same people that Trump is hurting, and then you get these scam artists who do this stuff, and then she has to play games with the banks who are going to probably jerk her around because they know that she doesn't have any legal means to make them cough up the money or whatever. So
look, you know my email address, so we can definitely talk about this more via email with the coordination of getting the funds. The easiest way might be if sending it friends and family, because this is going to somebody else and not to me. If you Venmo me, and you just put SJ in the notes, I'll know that it's for her, and then we can coordinate getting that funds to her. We'll coordinate a way to get the funds to her as well. So.
Yeah, I just thought it was something that got missed in the chat at the beginning there, and I thought
I did miss that. I would have talked about it, if I would have seen it. Yeah, there was sometimes when I have the chat up, I will have another window up over the chat if I'm working on something. So sometimes I'll miss things in the chat.
I don't know if we have I'm not sure if we have a way to reach Susie. That's the thing. I'm not sure if she's listening or what the story is right now, because I don't know how to contact other people through this means other than what I do on the YouTube chat. So
sure. Well, I mean, if you see her on other shows or whatever, just make sure to let her know. Make sure to have her email me, liberaldanradio@gmail.com, whatever. But yeah, if you put stuff if you just put a little note that says SJ on it, you don't even have to make it a public, whatever. Just if you want to leave it private, you can, or whatever. It doesn't matter if it's public, but if you want to, if you don't want everyone knowing what your account is or whatever, you can send it private or whatever, or leave it friends only. But if you put SJ there in the documentation, I'll know that it's for them. So even if she doesn't have a Venmo account, if you have another way to do it, like if I collect a couple $100 in Venmo and then I have to send it via Zelle, that's fine too. So it doesn't matter which way it comes from. So we can work on that. If anybody else knows Susie, have her email me, liberaldanradio@gmail.com, and then we can also I'll work with Big Hook and anybody else wants to help to try and facilitate this and get the help that she might need. So
okay, well, you'll probably see something from me then. I'll try and send some money your way, and maybe you can redirect it to her, because
and Susie says will likely be at 21st Century Suffragettes on Tuesday. So Go check that out.
She's also on. I've seen her in the chats with Carbon as well as with Tommy from Dude. So maybe we can reach her via that as well. So, and just let her know that there's, some help available
Josh
to
says
her.
Susie's on all the good shows. I'd be like, Susie's go watch the best shows. No one watches better shows. Anyway, got it.
I know she's usually also on Stephanie Miller in the morning, so so maybe I can reach her there and we can do something there because I mean, at worst, what would it be just to send her a Western Union or something like that?
Right.
Probably just to ask her what is preferable, and it's not a handout, it's a hand up, I mean, there's people that don't deserve this kind of crap happening to them, and this really...
So Dean says, what's the website again? Well, Aaron posted the link to the Venmo account, but you can just scan the Venmo, the QR code here, but it's also just Liberal Dan on Venmo if you're just going to search the name. It'll pop up. So if you want to send the money that way, do that. Or if you need to send money another way, email me, liberaldanradio@gmail.com. If you'd rather do it via, a PayPal or Zelle or whatever, then I could add up all the funds that we all get and then coordinate with you and anybody else who might know her just to get the funds out to her so we can help the show, because I want to believe that we are all together. We're all in this together. We're a family together, and that's the only way we're going to make it through this is by being together. So I'm more than happy to help facilitate that. I'm more than happy to help facilitate that. Thank you for calling back and letting us know. And again, we will make sure to just to make sure that I know that it's not something coming to me and it's going to her. Just make sure to put SJ in the comment of the via however you're sending it, so that I can count it up with her stuff and not have it count towards my stuff. So,
okay, well, that was my reason for calling. I mean, unless you want to hear me ramble and rant and.
I think Jeff may have figured out what he needs to do. Apparently, he wasn't dialing one first. So let's see if Jeff can call in, and we'll
okay, all right, and I'll take my leave and send some love for Susie then. Okay.
Perfect.
All
Sounds
right.
great. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. All right, Jeff, if you want to now call back in or try and call in with the 1-562-542-3261 or 1-562-LIBDAN1, you can feel free to do so, and we'll stay on a few more minutes to give you the opportunity to because yes, last call, not last call for alcohol, but last call for calls to Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right, Mondays and Wednesdays here at liberaldanradio.com or twitch.tv/liberaldanradio. But yeah, so say, oh my god, you folks in all channels we all hang out at, you're the fucking best. I'm so impressed with you all. I mean, again, we're good people. We're not deplorables. We're not MAGA. We are, we try and look out for people who need help. And so if I can use my show as when it was obvious that I wasn't going to win the congressional election that I ran for. I mean, it was probably obvious from day one, but I told myself I would do it, so I did it. When it was obvious that I wasn't going to win, I basically paid for some advertising because Hurricane Ivan had just hit, and I paid for some advertising, and I was just like, look, if you want, I will come pick up stuff from you, and I'll bring it to other places. If you want to donate things but don't have the means to get your donations from point A to point B, I'll go ahead and do that. And I didn't do it for the thanks. I did it because I felt it was the right thing to do, and to use whatever notoriety that I might have had from this attempt to, serve in office to help people out. And sad thing was, even though I wasn't doing it for, kudos, whatever, only one person from the Kenner City Council, because I lived in the city of Kenner at the time, only one person from the council stood up and was like, thank you, and sent me a personal note thanking me for doing that. And I was like, that's really class. Unfortunately, that person was run out of the council too, because they didn't like the fact that he stood up, for common people. So it is what it is, right? Let's see. Jeff call said cannot be completed as dialed. So say text me, but you could text that number, but just you could send a text in the chat and just say whatever you want in the chat anyway, so that doesn't really help. But we could try and figure it out some other time, but I think we'll just probably go ahead and call this show over. We will, however, for the first time, maybe the first of many times, because we had Liberal Dandruff, maybe we'll use that as the first outro or the main outro to get us out of Twitch. And then once that's done, we'll play Nimbus, because Twitch doesn't like the Evening Land, the regular outro music. So, again, thank y'all very much. I will be on nerdydan.com on Twitch tomorrow night, probably around 8 p.m. playing some games. But of course, I have no problem discussing politics whilst playing games, so we can do that as well. We'll be back here Wednesday evening, 8 p.m. Central, to talk about more of the BS that's going on in this country. So until the next time I see you, thank you so much. Have a great one. Peace.
Out of the blue, Liberal Dan got some bitter things to sling. Says my AI's unlistenable, a waste of time. But this big shot leftist ain't worth a dime. Liberal Dandruff, you're just a flake, living in a world where facts don't make. Peddling hate and acting tough, but you're nothing more than Liberal Dandruff. Dan makes plans, but they all crash down like the coyote when he hits the ground.